Welcome to the U.S. Open tennis coverage. My name's Tony, and with me, as always, is Mac. Mac, how are you doing?
I'm doing so good, Tony. Boy, a lot of action, a little rainy. We got some the men's draw, the women's draw, lots of exciting forehands, backhands.
Yeah, I think Chris Chalfant, the way she was serving back and forth, really did well, but I don't know if Judy Trumond is going to be able to truly follow up and break her serve.
I think that's fair. You know, I think both of them were actually a little bit distracted by, there was a chair that was just sitting empty the entire time, and they both kept looking at it like,
right.
God, is anyone going to sit down? Is anyone going to show up? They both seemed to be a little distracted, like they weren't in like their right frame of mind or something.
Right. Is this the future, or is this the past?
Well, Tony, you tell me, what year is it?
A large house made of wood, surrounded by trees.
Welcome to Twin Peaks The Gifted.
And the Damned.
My name's Bubba. You can find me on Twitter at Fit and Trim. That's FITTENTRIM at Fit and Trim on Twitter. And with me, as always,
Still.
somebody who doesn't know who he bought his house from. It's Mork. Mork, how are you doing?
I'm doing so good, Bubba. And anyone, if they want to, can find me at Extraordinary on Twitter. That's extraordinary with the W in front of the final R. My head is not all the way spun around, but almost there. I've almost done a full Linda Blair.
So that's the Linda who we should have been paying
Yes.
attention to for this whole time.
Yeah.
That Linda.
That Linda, yeah.
Listeners, we're going to be going through Part 17, The Past Dictates the Future, as well as Part 18, What is Your Name? Of Twin Peaks, The Return, the final two parts, the final two bits
As far
of
as we
Twin
know.
Peaks, The Return. Mork, we have so much to get through. I want to say that in this podcast, we're going to concentrate on these two parts. 2 weeks from today, 2 weeks from now, we're going to be doing a feedback show, and we're going to cover Twin Peaks, The Return as an entirety. We're going to give out reviews and rankings, favorite parts, White Lodge parts, parts we hated the most, Black Lodge parts, if we hated any parts. So we'll be doing that in 2 weeks. So today we're just covering these final two parts. We have so much to get to. Because of that, though, I need one ranking, your ranking out of 10. And if you want to, combine Part 17 and Part 18. If you want to split them up, I can understand that. What is your ranking out of 10?
I'm going to give this, I'm going to combine the ranking. Originally, I was going to give it 9 quadruple Bs.
Quadruple Bs?
Bloody beaten bob balls. But I'm sticking with 9 triple Cs.
Triple Cs?
Concealed curtain calls.
9 out of 10. Yeah. That is very, very high. Why did you go so high, Mork?
Well, I felt it was basically perfect, except for it was missing one thing.
Well, one thing.
Well, one main thing, and yeah, that I'm a little dissatisfied on the one hand. On the other hand, I was really, really excited to see Carrie Page, even though we don't know exactly when we are. We know where we are, but I enjoyed all the possibilities of that. I'm not sure about so many things, but man, I still enjoyed the episode. It made me think about all the things we've seen before, not just in this season, but in Fire Walk with Me, in seasons 1 and 2. So this is really something we'll be pondering for a while, and I probably won't know exactly how I feel for about 2 weeks. So, but that's okay. Bubba?
Yeah.
What did you think about tonight?
Part 17 gave me a lot of certain positive feelings.
All right. Excellent.
Part 18 gave me a lot of other type of feelings that weren't quite as positive.
Okay.
Independently of Twin Peaks The Return as a whole is how I'm going to grade this.
Sure.
But the fact that it is the end is going to slightly affect the rating.
Okay.
So as I'm sitting here, as I sat here and watched these two parts, and I did wonder so much. Mm-hmm. And so that is why I'm going to go, you know what, I'll be White Lodge Bubba.
Yeah.
And I'll give it 7 quadruple W's out of 10.
Quadruple W's?
Who, what, where, when, and why? Who made this? Where are they?
Yeah.
When is this?
Mm-hmm. What are they doing?
Where? Yeah. When and why? I mean, what? Why did they do this?
I think it's quintuple.
Wait, no. Who, what, where, when, and why? Oh, I'm giving a point to Ann.
Yeah.
So who, what, where, when, why? Oh my goodness gracious! There were moments in this where I thought, "What a great twist! Ooh, isn't this fun? Where this is going?" There are other parts of this that make me think Mark Frost just wants everybody to buy his book, Twin Peaks: The Final Dossier, which comes out on October 31st of this year, 2017. So many strong feelings, so many whiplash feelings, and so various moments I found pure works of art. To be honest, the whole thing is a pure work of art. That the end with the long driving and the twist ending, for lack of a better word, didn't quite work as well for me. But we're going to go over everything. We're going to go on this journey with Coop, with Mr. C, with Dougie Jones, with all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Down this rabbit hole, through the looking glass, over the rainbow, however you want to describe it. We are going to get into this. And this podcast is going to go long, and I promise you, people, we're not going to say everything. Come back in 2 weeks. Hopefully, instead of being the instant reaction, instant take podcast, which this has been for the entire return, we'll have hopefully wonderful things to say, more thoughts, deeper thoughts. We'll be able to really have digested this meal that we've been given and take it in.
So, Bubba, are you a little stressed out now that we only have E.T. more parts to watch? Because we really do have to watch all of these again.
Yes, we do. We're not starting right now. I can promise you that. I'm not starting right now. I need a bit of a break.
Yeah.
Mork, we have these great people that we have dubbed Double L.
Double L's?
That's who we like to call the loyal listeners.
Too loyal.
The people
They're too loyal.
They have been too loyal. The people who have been with us through this crazy journey of the return, people who joined with us when we started this podcast almost a year ago, looking at the ratings of the original Twin Peaks and the secret history of Twin Peaks. And I want to say a special, heartfelt 10 out of 10 thank yous to all of our Double L's, especially the people who have disagreed with us at times. I know there's some Twin Peaks podcasts out there that, remember part 13, the part where we got so much feedback where the listeners were frustrated.
Yeah.
I listened to this podcast. I won't call them out. They're fine. But one of the hosts was like, boy, I watched it and I hated it. But then I thought about it and now I love it. And I really thought, are you sure? Okay, if that's really what you happen. The guys on the Entertainment Weekly podcast, they are really great attitudes about saying, man, that was really frustrating. And then they giggle for the next 10 minutes, because they enjoy the frustration.
Right.
If, people were upset with me when I was really liked Dougie in part 4, and they were like, how could you like it? It was just Dougie saying hello for a whole hour. And then a lot of people have been upset with me because I've been so tough on it. There have been some reviews out this week from places like the New York Times Entertainment Weekly that have lavished praise on Twin Peaks: The Return. And then the flip side, the Hollywood Reporter's lead television critic Tim Goodman specifically called it a steaming pile of S, and he was only at part 12, and he said he was quitting. So there have been some extremes.
He quit his job over this show.
Yeah, he said, he quit Twin Peaks.
He left.
He said, I'm not doing this anymore. And so there have been extremes on both sides. Some people completely love it. Some people completely are frustrated with it. And so the fact that hopefully we've been in the middle, hopefully we've said intelligent things, even if they haven't been intelligent, no, they're heartfelt.
Or intelligible.
Right. And so if you've stuck with us all these parts, you guys are the best. Your opinions are the things that matter. And so we love you. Because you've been so kind to stick with us, we're going to be giving away all of our prize back at the end of this show. We'll save one prize for the feedback show. But just so you know, we're giving away a hardback copy of The Secret History of Twin Peaks. Those beautiful Twin Peaks art postcards that are so beautiful. We're giving away 3 different Funko figures, as well as the Twin Peaks Owl Cave Ring coasters.
Do not put them on your fingers, people.
And the way this is going to work is because so many times I'm like, oh, you've won this, and somebody will say, oh, I really wanted to win this other thing. The way we're going to do it is we're going to draw names from people who've been kind enough to give us written iTunes reviews and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/double P podcast. That's the word double, the single letter B, the word podcast, plural. And so when your name is drawn, the first person to say, hey, that's me, and give us a mailing address on our Facebook page, you'll get to pick which of the prizes you want, and so on and so on. And so that'll encourage the people who not only are kind enough to listen, but those who listen immediately once it gets posted online. So we're going to go ahead right here at the beginning and give away the first prize. Now, we have 19 new reviews this week from Greg Truman, DZ Mom, Meg M. McG, Jamie Michelle 68, Mr. Mooney, Rebar ZZZ, J Kid 56, Biker Man John, Man Without Fear 05, Carmi I Carmcats 04s, Second to None 59, Go Cards, Don 444444, Crow Stand, Battling Buds Buddies, Linear North, Kate's 28, Vulture Squadron, and Calexico Kid. Those are 19 reviews. We can't read them right at the top because we got to get into this podcast, but we're going to read all these reviews later on in this show. And so let's go ahead and jump in to the first winner. All these people who've given us iTunes are in the bowl. Mork, pull out a name. Let's see who gets to write in first and give us their mailing address.
Here we go. Okay. Here we go. And up from the U.S. of A., it is Eddie H. 1958.
Hey, Eddie. Let me see that. Eddie. Once again,
beautiful.
just go to the Facebook page, give us a mailing address, Eddie, and pick which of those things, the book, the coasters, the postcards, a Funko figure. Tell us what you'd like. It's your choice. We're going to be giving away 4 more prizes this week, and then 1 prize on our feedback show in 2 weeks. So, Mork, let's go ahead and let's read some of these new iTunes reviews at the top, but then we got to get into this insane part 17 and part 18. So, read the first one here, Mork.
All right, this is from Greg Truman. So very gifted indeed. 5 stars.
Ooh, thank you.
Holy cow. You guys are the greatest. I started binging your season 1 and 2 recap episodes back before season 3 began, and finished catching up as the return started earlier this summer. I've downloaded a total of 7 Twin Peaks podcasts in the past few months, and yours is by far my number 1. Wow, thanks so much. Keep doing what you do best. P.S. You mentioned last week that about 9,500 people download your podcast but haven't reviewed on iTunes or left a like on Facebook to enter the contest. I can't speak for all 9,500 of us, and I'm about to exit that group by posting this review anyway, but I expect a lot of us just don't like using Facebook, and so that's one of the main reasons. If you had a Twitter option or email option for entering the contest, I and many others would have been more likely to take part, but it's no big deal to me. I just enjoy listening to you guys discuss the show and banter with each other. Great job. Thank you so much, Greg. That's great feedback.
Yeah, and we had some people go to our Facebook page and say, hey, I just can't write an iTunes written review. And so we said, well, sure, you want to. They don't like using iTunes. They use Stitcher, which were available on others. And so they did some other things, and we're like, okay, you're entered. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's one from DZ Mom. Episode 16, 5 stars. Y'all put out such a fabulous, entertaining podcast. Found y'all on YouTube and listen every week. This is one of my favorite scenes that y'all touched on was the Diane Tulpa scene where she was shot. And wow, that was so creatively awesome. Love that. David Lynch filmed that just the way you feel by realizing Diane was Tulpa. What an exit. Well, I'm totally loving this awesome podcast. You are fun, entertaining, yet thorough recap on episodes of Twin Peaks The Return. Great job. 5 A pluses. The number A1 first class podcast related to the best series, Twin Peaks The Return. Thank you so much, DZ Mom.
All right, we're going to do one more short one, and then we're going to dive in. That sound good
to
you,
let's
Bubba?
do that. We'll read them all, but we got to get to it quick. So one more short one. Let's hear it.
This is from Meg M. McG. Double L.
Double L?
Loyal listener, loves Double D.
Double D.
Deep dives, 5 stars.
That totally makes sense.
As a devoted fan of Twin Peaks, I listen to several podcasts devoted to the show, and this one rises to the top of the Double C.
Double C?
Creamed corn.
Oh, man.
That is awesome and terrifying. Thank you,
man. We're deep in the cream corn today. So
we're double deep.
We're going to read all these wonderful reviews you guys have been so kind to give us in a second. But first, Mork, we talk about prizes we're going to give away.
We do.
We have one loyal listener who has been so incredibly sweet.
Alex Appland.
Yeah, that's her. She has been so nice. She's been a great fan. We love giving away prizes. She's mailed us some stuff,
What?
Mork. So what we're going to do is this box arrived last week, and we're going to do a live unboxing, an audio unboxing, if such a thing could happen, of this great thing that Alex was nice enough to send, and we will tweet out a picture of it after we unbox it, because this is going to be pretty exciting. Ooh, there's lots of bubble wrap in here.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, keep describing, Mork. This is an audio unboxing, so keep saying what you're doing. This it looks like the size of about a human heart is what I'm looking at.
It might be. Yeah, that's terrifying, because considering some of the things that we've seen tonight. Now, I have some scissors. And,
all right, get at it. Let's see.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, this has been wrapped very well.
Well wrapped.
All right, here we
Alex Appland is holy cow.
Holy cow, that's beautiful. Look at that.
These
Oh my gosh.
I've got one mug, and it is a gorgeous, it holds a real cup of coffee. It's not like one of those small little cups that you have to get a second one of. And it is beautiful. It's glazed on top there. It says a damn fine cup of coffee.
Hand painted of a mountain scene. Ooh, damn fine cup of coffee. This is beautiful. Look at that.
We got
Holy smokes.
Yeah, we cannot. Oh,
that is too nice. Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh, cool. Look at this. We got there's a little note here from Alex, and I'm going to read it out. Hey guys, I love the show so much. Thanks for being awesome.
Oh, thank you.
We try. I'd love to make a mug for you to give away. Holy cow. And Alex is at Alex Appland on Instagram. That's A as in apple, L as in loyal, E as in excellent, X as in x-ray, A P as in Paul, L as in Larry, A as in apple, N as in Nancy, D as in dog. At Instagram. Alex Appland on Instagram.
These are so wonderful. Cool. All right. Hey, sweet prize.
Very cool. And you can also go to alexappland.com, where there's outdoors-inspired pottery by Alex. This is so, so cool. I wish there were more. These are great. Go to alexappland.com, see more cool stuff.
All right, let's get into this episode, part 17. And we're just going to kind of like we did last week. Because it's all centered around Cooper.
Yeah.
It's his story. There aren't really other ones to jump to, maybe a bit of Vegas and such, but let's just go through part 17. Mork last week left on such an incredible cliffhanger of Audrey looking into that mirror.
Yeah.
And
well, we'll figure out what exactly was happening there. So, not to worry, Bubba.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, we'll get to Audrey looking into the mirror in a second. Part 17, though, begins in everybody's favorite city in South Dakota, Buckhorn.
Good old Buckhorn.
How did you feel about Gordon, Albert, and, of course, Agent Tammy Preston sitting in their assigned seats from last week when the Tulpa Diane came in? And how did you feel about this scene, the wine drinking scene? Let's hear it.
Well, I mean, typically after shooting a tulpa who flies out of the room and disappears, I like to clean my gun and have a nice glass of Cabernet Sauvignon. So I don't know.
I'm not drinking the Cabernet.
Are FBI agents allowed to drink with their firearms in their electronic command center? Is that allowed?
If not, it should be. This looks pretty good.
It should be. I think after this episode, there will be a lot of people applying to join the Federal Bureau of Investigation. So we've been talking a lot about Cole, and we knew for a while that Diane wasn't all that she seemed, or was maybe more than what she seemed. But it also seemed like Cole was keeping stuff from us, and he just he finally admits it.
Yeah, this was an exposition drop of all-time exposition drops.
Right.
One of the things, when we did our 5-podcast coverage of Mark Frost's The Secret History of Twin Peaks, one of the things that came up in that book that felt very weird is that, according to the book, Gordon and Major Briggs had a relationship pre-Twin Peaks.
Like a romantic?
You read the book. You read the book, Mork. So obviously, you're being a little silly there.
I am.
Very little in the silly part. So it felt weird then. Here, it feels like even more weird in that he's telling us about something which theoretically happened off screen. We've never seen before.
We've never seen it before, and it just one thing that it does raise a question of, well, when exactly? So Agent TP, who she's referred to Agent TP in the dossier in the book, The Secret History. So when exactly does he give? Is he supposed to have given this dossier to? Is it
a different year? A different year.
What year is
Maybe.
this? But what year is this?
I have no idea.
So
the story is that according to Gordon, 25 years ago, Cooper, Briggs, and Gordon had a conversation. Now, this is interesting. He's saying before Major Briggs disappeared, he shared with me and Cooper his discovery of an entity of extreme negative force called in olden times a Jow Day. Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard of a Jow Day before?
I haven't. I suppose we could look it up, but...
Yeah, actually, we probably should. Here, will you look it up while I'm talking right now? So there's a Jow Day. And so he says, over time, this became Judy. Now, what's especially odd about this is let's just look at the setup of it. According to stuff that isn't in Twin Peaks The Return so much as Mark Frost's book, Mr. C, a.k.a. Cooper with Bob in him after he's left the lodge, the doppelganger, went to see Major Briggs. And theoretically, maybe they called in Gordon during this specific time. And so this theoretically is when the conversation went down. Now, this Jow Day over time became Judy, which seems a bit odd because before Cooper had even met Garland Briggs, back in 1988, according to the Fire Walk With Me film, Philip Jeffries came in and said, we're not going to talk about Judy. No, we're not going to talk about Judy.
Right.
And so...
Did it...
it's almost like, well, how did it over time become Judy if it was already Judy by the time Philip Jeffries came in? Very confusing. Did you find anything on Jow Day in our simple Google search?
Yeah, I looked it up, and the first thing that comes up is actually, no, is the answer. Jow Day name meaning in family history at Ancestry.com. There is actually someone who's got a Twitter handle, _@_Jow Day, Jowday.
They're going to get a lot of followers. Good work. Good work, Jow Day.
Well done. Hastily registered, but God bless. No, I was thinking perhaps that Jow Day became Judy because of Philip Jeffries' very pronounced accent. I wasn't sure if that was it. But one thing about this story that kind of seemed a little funky to me was, there was someone who knew about a very powerful energy source way back when who Cole doesn't mention.
Do you mean our good buddy Wyndham Earle?
Hell yeah, I mean Wyndham Earle. And Wyndham Earle seemed to be the guy who knew more about Jow Day, at least according to the episodes he was in.
Well, he never mentioned Judy, but he talked about the powerful entity, the powerful realm he always was talking about. I'm not sure he talked about the Dugpuz, and they came across as an extreme negative force. Mm-hmm. So we've moved away from the Dugpuz and the Black Lodge even, and moved towards the Tulpas and the Jow Days. And so apparently Major Briggs, Cooper, and Gordon put together a plan that could lead them to the Jow Day.
Right.
Theoretically, this is Mr. C again.
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. C heard about that plan. Remember, in the second part, Mr. C shows the playing card to Daria, the woman he kills, the friend of Ray, and he shows her the thing we've been calling the experiment, the mother, the glass box monster, and he says, this is what I'm looking for, the Jow Day. So now we know he's been looking for Judy this whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has been. And one of the things that doesn't quite track for me is Cole describes it, and then Briggs disappeared, and then Cooper disappeared. And at this point, we have a pretty good idea of sort of how and when each person disappeared. So I don't know if he's skimming over things. I don't know if there's inconsistencies here. And this is one of the kind of challenging things about really thinking about the show is, things change, and we don't know.
That is the most generous way to say it. You're right.
Well, we
you
don't
know what? People, things change, okay?
Well, they do. But we don't know when that's intentional and when they're not. Like, we don't know exactly. I mean, one thing that I thought was going to be more of a spiritual thing or metaphorical, and it could still be, and we'll get to it later on in part 18, but, go find Laura. I thought that was just sort of a metaphor for something. And nope, he found Laura. Spoiler alert, people, but you already heard the episode, or saw the episode.
Yeah, let me say, I hope you've seen part 17 of part 18.
Please watch, for God's sake.
Number one, if you think it didn't make too much sense, then if you haven't watched it and you listen to this podcast, it's not going to make any sense either.
Do you think there's anyone, any of our double L's, maybe just one, who doesn't know there's a show and just thinks we're just making this up?
Right, and we're totally high, dude.
We might be. So, okay, so one...
All right, so hold on. I just want to get the plot checked.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Cooper told Gordon, if I disappear like the others, theoretically, meaning, I assume he means Chet Desmond, I assume he means Philip Jeffries. He says, if I ever disappear, try to find me.
Do everything you can.
Do everything you can to find me. I'm trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. That was something we heard way back in what we would call the Red Room Black Lodge in the first 2 parts.
Right. So one thing that just, I don't know if this is a better for in 2 weeks, but this is, as you said, this is an exposition bomb. And
yeah, it felt very odd to me.
This is
the only thing that slightly made sense is that Ray Monroe was a paid informer of the FBI.
Well, yeah, that in some ways it tracked a little bit better, considering, what we're learning now is that Mr. C, we don't know exactly where Mr. C got the third coordinate from, but it's the Jackrabbit's Palace, so I'm assuming he got that from Major
the place
Briggs.
So many paces away from Jackrabbit's Palace, correct.
Right, so the other 2 would have been from Philip Jeffries, via
the tea kettle, the smoke, the numbers he spit out.
Yeah, via Ray, and then the other would have been from Diane, I guess, the Tulpa, who were trying to kill him. So maybe it tracks that Ray and Philip Jeffries are on the same side of things. I guess is the small thing I was gonna point out. And I think,
what do you think that even means, though?
Well, it certainly reshuffles the deck a little bit in terms of who's good, who's bad, and who are the real, who's like, where are the,
So hold on,
king,
you're saying who's good, who's bad.
So
Ray is good now?
No, I'm sorry. A better way to put it would be in terms of, who rivals each other, because the way that they dealt with Mr. C, and stop me if I'm jumping too far ahead, but the way that they dealt with Mr. C was almost like he wasn't worthy enough of an adversary for Coop.
Like so many of the villains that I've been pointing out over the last couple of weeks, and we'll get to Mr. C's downfall in a bit, but it wasn't the greatest. It wasn't the greatest.
It wasn't what
the heroes didn't do anything great. In fact, Lucy had this vision, which seemed to be the big thing, and then Freddy. Well, Lucy had the vision to go shoot him, and then and then Freddy's magic fist.
Freddy's magic fist.
His.
Well, it is a magic fist. Yeah.
It just feels dirty even saying magic fist is magic fist.
See, yeah, look, you took us there, Bubba. You and Lucy took us there. But no, so by the time Coop shows up, Mr. C is basically, he's basically gone.
Yeah.
The woodsmen are going to work and, they give up. Now, Bob comes out of there. Well, let's look.
Yeah, you've gone down a Mork path, is what I like to say.
Yeah.
What was your main point about this, though?
Well, when we learn about, Philip Jeffries, he seems to be, when Mr. C saw Philip Jeffries, they seem to be, rivals but not enemies. And now when Coop goes to see Philip Jeffries, they're clearly on the same side and helping each other out. So that was kind of interesting. And Mr. C seemed to be more of a pawn than kind of a leading general in this fight. But let's get
way to mix metaphors.
That's why I'm here.
All right, Mork. That is why you're here.
Yep.
If I thought the show didn't make too much sense. All right, so let's just flow with this dream that we've been given in part 17. Our FBI Vegas guys, they call up and they say they found Dougie Jones. Of course, Gordon Cole has been given a message. Gordon Cole gets a message from Bushnell that Cooper had left for him. And so, great moment, you would think, because we've all, I believe, grown to love Bushnell. We like how this is happening. And he's passing along the message. And what the message says is, I'm headed for Sheriff Truman's. It's 2:53 in Las Vegas. 2:53 was an important time in the series. And he said, the one thing I didn't quite understand, it says 2:53, that adds up to 10?
2 plus 5 plus 3.
Right, that adds up to 10.
Yeah.
So come and meet us? Well, the idea was this is it.
Well, it was...
I found the jaw day, maybe.
Well, what's complete? 10 is the number of completion. But I wasn't sure what's complete. The complete is the doorway is open to push Mr. C through. He's got all he needs because he knows where he's going. He's awake. He's got the ring to get rid of Mr. C. I don't know what's complete, and I don't know what Cole thinks is complete by that message. But this tracks with what Cole's been sort of telling Albert and Tammy, and they're ready to go. So,
well, you say they're ready to go. To be honest, then suddenly Agent Preston does a little exposition dump of her own, where she's able to get all this immediate information and find out the stuff we've done, meaning, okay, Dougie Jones, she even knew he stuck a fork in an electric socket.
Right, yeah. So, well, it looks like they got a crazy super fax that is going through his medical records. One thing that Cole said that I thought was kind of interesting was a Blue Rose case indeed, or a Blue Rose case definitely, which kind of makes it sound like I thought Blue Rose was just one very complicated case, and now there's different instances of Blue Rose. I wasn't sure what exactly they meant by that. I thought it was interesting, and maybe it leads to. I feel deep down that we're going to get more episodes. Maybe that's hope. I don't know. But so we'll see. But it just sort of struck me as funny the way that they said that.
Okay, so it's 2:53. I assume in Vegas, or it's 2:53 in South Dakota. They're in different time zones. Let's ignore that fact.
Sure.
But instead jump to the sheriff's stations in Twin Peaks, where it turns out that it's night still. This great motley crew of Naito, the drunk who just repeats stuff like Dougie Jones. We've got good old Chet. And we've got Green Glove Freddy. Chad, excuse me. We've got Chad and James in the cell. Mr. C is seen driving at night. The electric lines are just staticking, shaking, reverberating as he's driving, we assume and we know, to Twin Peaks. So powerful. And it's like as he gets closer, and this is me assuming based on the editing, Naito gets more and more disturbed, and her I don't mean to sound cruel, but her like dolphin noises just grow.
Right. Yeah. She's not using her words, and this gets the drunk guy going, and he starts chirping away. But during all this, Deputy Chad. He opens up his boot.
Yes, and Mork, you made a groan when that happened. Do you want to say why you groaned as we were watching it when Deputy Chad opened his boot to reveal all those keys? His heel, excuse me.
Yeah.
You know, you've heard of a heel turn. This is a different type of heel turn by Deputy Chad.
It was a little bit of a heel turn. So he planned ahead of being locked. Those are jail cell keys. So he planned of being...
He always had those in his shoes?
Apparently, yeah.
Got to keep. What do you have in your shoes right now?
Well, I don't want to get into it, but let's just say I'm eating those Pop-Tarts tonight.
So interspersed with all this, I'm going to say a sentence that I'm almost want to slap myself for saying.
I'll slap
we
you.
get the resolution to the Jerry Horn Lost in the Woods story.
Well, but what's great about that, though, like, he wasn't in Twin Peaks. He was in Wyoming.
How the heck did he get to Wyoming?
He's been
naked.
running.
What the heck's going on?
Well, they found him naked, but
yes,
yeah. So that's,
if you know where Twin Peaks is theoretically located on the map, it's not near Wyoming. You couldn't just ramble from Twin Peaks to Wyoming, even if you were nude.
Well, I think Jerry had an off-camera rendezvous with John Joseph Justice Wheeler's airplane.
Hey guys, I'm back.
Flew him. Hey, you're Audrey's uncle. Well, I'll take you anywhere you need to go. Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. I don't know. It's one of those things where, okay, Jerry having witnessed what happened to Richard Horn.
He says the binoculars, he saw somebody get killed. The binoculars killed somebody.
His binoculars did some damage. So, to put those folks in the same place and then not have Mr. C do anything to Jerry or Ben or, really anyone other than, his son, was a little bit of a letdown, I think. Don't you?
Yes, I could say let down an awful lot talking in this part, but you gave it 9 out of 10, so you didn't seem to mind so much. You just like that the brothers are back together.
I like that they addressed that. It was a bit of a curveball at being so far away from Twin Peaks. But, I'm glad they're going to be back together and that their marijuana empire will continue to flourish.
Now, a real, where the mind melt of this episode starts, I think is right here, and we're only really just 12 minutes into part 17.
Yeah.
Mr. C has pulled over to the side of the road. Theoretically, like you've said, he's found that place just past Jack Rabbit's palace. The smoke is bubbling. That kind of cream corn-like substance that's in the ground is showing up. Mr. C has gotten his coordinates. Theoretically, he's looking for Jow Day, if I can even follow this dreamlike story along. We see, theoretically, a sycamore tree there, another sign of this is a gateway to another realm. Mr. C, theoretically, has found what he's been looking for this entire thing. He's found his way, and then he gets sucked up into the zone.
He gets sucked up into the zone much like Andy did, and it made me wonder a little bit about the timing of it. Andy obviously was there recently. We don't know exactly when. Remind me again, Bubba, what year is this? But
just keep asking.
Right. So, but Andy's there, and Andy, when Andy got sucked in, he had some visions.
He talked to the firemen.
He was hanging out with the firemen. He had a cool chair, and most importantly, he saved Naito. And who really seems to be, as you said a second ago, kind of, really responding to the fact that Mr. C is getting closer.
That's what it feels like, yes.
Right. So that's great. I mean, we're lucky that happened. And
now Mr. C gets sucked up to this same place. I want to call it the Purple Realm, the movie theater, wherever it is. Suddenly,
nice to see that they're recycling some of the sets from David Lynch's Dune.
This looks like a Dune set to you?
The
theater?
That trombone thing looks like it.
Oh, you mean these electric things that we've been seeing? I could see it a bit. Mr. C's...
The gold thing.
Oh, okay, sure thing. Mr. C's soul seems to be trapped in a cage. Is that the way you read this? We see Major Briggs' head.
I thought he was... Yeah, I thought he was in prison somehow, and I was pretty confused. And that's a relative term, this episode, this part, excuse me. But the fact that that Major Briggs is hanging out without a cage, Mr. C is in a cage, sort of squishing his head into a square. Yeah, he seemed like he was trapped.
Right, and so he gets trapped when he goes to the other sets of coordinates. If he had gone to the place where Richard Horn had gone,
he'd be dead.
He'd be dead. Here, though, he gets trapped. The fireman, for lack of a better word, I'm going to say he swipes right on the Palmer house. He swipes right from the place in the wood. He swipes right from the Palmer house. He's still swiping right, even though, from him, it's actually swiping left. And then we see the slide move to the right. Next thing you know, we see a location which just looks like some woods, to be completely honest. and he sends Mr. C there.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. C, as you said, he goes through the golden dune-like furnace wheel, which we saw the Laura spirit ball disappear into in a previous episode.
One thing, just real quick, I want to point out was there was a shot of a room that seemed to have an infinite amount of tea kettles.
Tea kettles, electric drones, whatever you want to call these little.
Right.
In some ways you would call them like electric.
Maybe a transformer or something
right.
like that.
Yeah.
Now, just do we want to? I don't want to take too much time, but is it possible that each one of those things represents maybe a different dimension, a different realm, something like that? I mean, it was really a 10-second shot, probably even 5 seconds. So it's hard to put too much.
Yeah, we've seen a
on.
bunch of these throughout this purple realm, this theater, wherever this place is. We've seen a bunch of them through here,
and also in Argentina.
We did? I have to be honest, I don't remember us seeing one in Argentina. I know we saw the answering machine that got scrunched up into a ball. We may have to save this for the series review. I just don't remember that. If you say we saw one in Argentina, we certainly could have. But Mr. C is sent to that place that was on the slide, and it turns out it's the parking lot for the sheriff's station.
Across the street.
He gets brought... theoretically, where he has to get brought to be defeated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it makes more sense. It actually makes more sense to me now. Watching this, I was like, oh my God, he's going to go do Mr. C stuff. But it was almost like Andy was given this vision. Andy was prepared. So
the fireman is sending Mr. C to the place where he knows he can get defeated.
The fireman definitely is helping. And something very small... that drove me a little bit crazy in part one or two. I can't quite recall, but it was Lucy who was having trouble with Sheriff Frank Truman was calling her, and then on from his cell phone, and that was really it blew Lucy's mind. But that paid off in this episode. We'll see that. But first, Andy thinks he recognizes an old pal.
He does. To anybody, this would be Agent Cooper. Well, of course, that's what he thinks. Andy was about to go on a picnic, but of course, inside the cell, Naido going crazy, freaking out. She's almost electric shocking out. She can tell that something's really wrong. And it feels like Freddie and James, they know that this is here, that they've got to do what they need to do. Now, good old Chad, oh boy. Chad... he brought the infamous key. Always has it in his shoes. New shoes.
He waited till everyone was awake to make
right,
his
and
escape.
it was sunshine. He didn't want to escape overnight.
Well, it's
Chad.
spooky at night in Twin Peaks. Are you kidding me?
Hold on. Across the cell in cell 5 is the drunk. Now, I have to be honest. This is exactly where Leo Johnson had hid his stuff in his shoe. I couldn't tell on my TV if these are Circle O brand shoes. Maybe that's what they're known for. You know how kangaroo shoes used to come with a pocket in it? Maybe Circle O brand.
That could be.
Circle brand shoes always have something in them. And so I have to be honest, I haven't, as you could tell from this podcast, I wasn't sure how much was I could understand in this episode. But when I see Mr. C next to Andy and then next to Lucy.
I was nervous.
You're like, oh no, this isn't right. This is terrible. Mr. C, you better not do anything to these people we love.
Well, I thought he definitely was until someone else was going to show up. But this was, it's such an innocuous looking thing, but because we know about how Mr. C tends to deal with people, it was really tense and really nerve-wracking. And Andy and Lucy, who are, really being as sweet as they ever are right now, because they're so excited to see who they think is Agent Cooper, that just makes it worse, because they don't know who they're dealing with.
Right. Now, that said, once Frank Truman takes Mr. C away, Andy kind of has these visions. And so his big smile turns into that kind of placid, okay, I know what I have to do. And so what's interesting is he immediately goes downstairs to the cell. That's where his vision is after he brings Lucy to Sheriff Truman's office.
Well, was he... was he looking for? I mean, because he comes down into the cell and he's like, "Oh, Hawk, are you down here?" And that's when. So I didn't know if he was trying to go protect Naito, or if because he says as he goes down the stairs, Hawk. Well, we'll
right. Well, we're bouncing around a bit. We apologize.
Yeah.
Mr. C is in Truman's office. You're right. Andy says, "Okay, I'm going to go get Hawk and let him know that you're here." This is intercut with Chad's very poorly planned escape. What exactly? Chad, everybody hates Chad. So completely gonzo nut stuff is happening. Chad comes out, draws his gun on Andy. We know this cannot happen. You think maybe the drunk guy who's ripping open his face is going to stop Chad. You're thinking, if Mr. C didn't kill Andy, we can't have Chad kill Andy. And that's when the Fist Ex Machina, comes
Good
through.
old Freddy.
Green Fist totally breaks a freaking jail cell door into Chad. Chad, bloodied face like so many characters on Twin Peaks: The Return. Goodbye, Chad.
Yeah.
And my favorite moment of this whole thing was James, who just got the biggest grin. Hey, good kid, James.
Finally,
he's happy.
Yeah, finally, James is having a good time in those prison cells. So, so Andy locks him up, and we go back upstairs. And one thing I think we may have skipped over, and I think this was something that really tipped off Andy, was Andy offers Mr. C some coffee. And he says, no thanks, I'm fine. And that's not the Dale Cooper.
They should have drawn their guns right then.
I think most people watching would have been the clue. Now Frank is interesting, the way that he seems very circumspect, and some of that could be just, look, Frank's a lawman and Mr. C is dressed, kind of like a shifty bad guy. He's got long, stringy hair.
I don't know. I think you
jacket.
put Wally Brando's hat on him. He looks just like Wally.
But Wally's got charm. No. So Lucy gets a call from...
Dun, dun, dun. Cooper!
Hell yeah. So we see they have landed Coop and the Mitchum brothers
and the Pink Ladies.
And the Pink Ladies
Love it.
Are all like, it is not easy finding a rental car that can fit all 7 of them, but they did.
They did it.
So so we go back. So Lucy has to buzz.
Yeah, she wants Sheriff Truman to take this call from the real Coop.
Right. And so Lucy's mind is, she's at the top of her game right now. She gets Truman to pick up the phone, and Truman, played by the great Robert Forster, who's been in so many great movies and great TV shows. His poker face comes in really, really handy right now.
You mean his one expression?
Well, look,
he's got this expression. He could be talking. You're right. It's a great poker face because he could be talking to Wally Brando. He could be talking to Doris. He could be talking to anybody. But now he happens to be talking to Coop.
Right, while he's staring at Coop.
Love it.
So yeah, so this was really cool.
We passed the Twin Peaks sign for the first time, the only time in The Return we see the Twin Peaks town sign in the shot. Love it.
That was great to see. But still pretty nervous. This made me feel when the way that Frank Truman is handling this call and handling Mr. C and not getting too scared, it made me think, okay, we have a little bit of a shot, or at least some of these, quote unquote mere mortals have a shot against Mr. C. The way that he's handling it. So I felt like, okay, something's going down. Something's going down and quick. But I didn't think it would be that quick.
No. You thought Cooper had to get there and confront Mr. C. Yeah. But Lucy stone cold shoots him in the back.
Well,
she was behind him. Yeah,
they pulled their guns on each other, and Mr. C shot over. Did he shoot through the hat or just over the hat?
The hat doesn't have a mark of of a bullet passing it, but Mr. C, you wouldn't think he would miss. Maybe he was getting shot as he was trying to shoot.
Still no excuse.
Incredible, great moment. But also, you're right. That was Cooper's job. Cooper was supposed to confront his doppelganger and defeat him. Instead,
Lucy does.
Lucy, hell yeah, let's go, Lucy. And let's give Freddy some credit too. So Cooper in the car with the Mitchums and the Pink Ladies, he's like, "Don't touch it." And so this sounds silly, but Mr. C is quote unquote dead. But all I can think of, oh God, nobody touch it. Yeah. Nobody touch it. Nobody should get Bob now. Nobody touch it. Nobody touch it. Right. Oh, my Lord. And when Hawk came in, I was so afraid. I was like, Hawk, please do not touch that body.
Yeah. I was really concerned that Hawk wasn't around for some reason, because he seems like the guy, other than Agent Cooper, who would have an immediate handle on all this. So we finally found him. He showed up. Quick question for you, Bubba. Does Lucy shooting Mr. C and preventing him from killing Sheriff Frank Truman, does that make up for the fact that she's been eating evidence apparently for years?
Those buddies?
Yeah, those buddies. Well, God knows what else.
Well, I'm telling you what. In the original series, first season, end of the first season, Andy shot Jacques Renault right before he was going to get the drop on Harry Truman.
Right.
Now Lucy gets the drop on Mr. C.
So the next episode's
Wally
Brando.
It's Wally's turn.
Don't mess with Wally Brando. So, all right. So we've got, and this is I don't remember Sheriff Truman's office being so stately.
Big,
it's like
double
Ben Horne's
doors. They've
office.
totally moved its location in the sheriff's station. This can't be, dare I say, why do we put any logic on this? This can't be the same space. But Freddy's there, Naito's there, James Hurley is there. They're all watching. Oh, my goodness.
And
the convenience store crew show up naturally.
Yeah.
Anything happens to Mr. C, they've got to come. You're just thinking, oh, God, what in the world? All these, quote-unquote, normal people seeing this vision of insanity.
Right. They're seeing this, and I don't know about you, but I was thinking, oh, man, Coop isn't there to fight Mr. C. Coop is there to fight, poor man's Abe Lincoln.
The convenience store crew. Yeah, great call.
Well, like the main guy who was crushing skulls.
I didn't think that, but I definitely thought, because they were told not to touch, I thought, oh boy, somebody's gonna get bobbed,
right?
For lack of a better word.
Yeah. So they're hovering over the body, and they're doing their thing, and we've seen them do this before.
When Ray got the drop.
When Ray got the drop, but somewhat more successfully. In terms of what they were trying to do, because Mr. C, the last time the woodsman went to work on him and just basically played with his belly a little bit and rubbed blood on his face, we saw a little bit of Bob, and then Mr. C got up and he was fine. This time around, Mr. C is not okay, and.
Right, because he can only take, when I say takes a licking and keeps on ticking, there are only so many shots you can take, even if you're an evil doppelganger. But the lights are strobing as they want to do when the supernatural, when the unexplainable starts happening. There's some great work of just the shaky camera throughout this entire Part 17 and Part 18 that is really effective. Some of the, that's a very lo-fi effect that works. There are some other lo-fi effects in this section that I personally don't feel work, but that with the camera strobing and almost like a funhouse mirror version of everything, really good. So, okay, the convenience store crew disappear. Out of Mr. C pops Bob. He is out in the world again, and He's angry.
He's angry.
He's no longer eager for fun. He's eager to be pissed off.
This is what I like to call a double D.
Double D.
A dangerous disco ball.
Oh, man. I love that the Mitchums, they are witness to some freaky stuff. The Bob ball, the double B Bob ball, takes a shot on Cooper, and then Freddy knows it's his destiny. Cooper even knows it's Freddy. He's like, are you here, Freddy? This is it. Yeah. This is what the fireman told you to do. This is why you were given this damn glove. And Freddy, not one of our returning champions, not even Red. And you may say, who's Red again? Oh, yeah, he's the creepy sparkle drug dealer.
And a magician.
Yeah. I mean, all these other characters. Freddy, you knew when he told the Green Glove story that he had to have some special destiny. But Freddy...
Did you think it was going to be this important?
This big? I thought, based on him being in the jail cell with Naito last week, I thought, okay, that could be it, and that would be a great thing. But for him to be the one to take out Bob, I almost want to say, who? Freddie Sykes?
Right. Well,
you go, Freddie.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see. We don't know. I mean, this is something that we felt would probably come at the end of part 18, not in the first 15 minutes.
Right, and Freddie, and this was a great fight, don't you think? This was
a great fight.
hardcore, and the effect, not the most believable effect, but Frank Silva's face going nuts in the ball, very effective.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that, and that was one thing about this whole episode. About both of these parts. We saw a lot of people from seasons 1 and 2. Now, I do
sometimes literally we saw seasons 1 and 2. We also saw Firewalk with Me.
I was a little, in terms of, it's one thing to have a new character, but I also felt a little bad for good kid James. I mean,
why not give James the green glove? Let him. If he's always been cool, how about always be a badass and let him take out Bob? Bob, who killed his girlfriend Laura.
This could be,
but no, we got to give it to Freddie Sykes.
Right. This would have been the first fight that James ever won, and that would have been great. But I'm glad Bob was splintered up. I didn't really think that Bob was truly defeated.
How about when Bob? Are we supposed to take this one moment that Bob, the double B Bob ball, was beat down into hell because he smashed through the floor and there's fire coming up? Fire walk with me.
Right.
The Bob ball, it takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he was down in hell or Freddie just hit him so hard that he punched through the floor, and then Bob was just exploding, in the crawl space or something. Contractors, please just stay up to code. We don't want this to happen in one of your buildings. No, so the ball, though, is not done.
Yeah, it's not done. It's like, okay, you may have knocked me into the floor, you may have knocked me into hell, but guess what? I'm going to come back, and I'm going to growl, and I'm going to hiss, and I'm going to take you on, Freddie! And Freddie, ooh, man. If you're going to take on Bob, you're going to get beat up. I thought Freddie was dead at various times.
The way that they shot this was very reminiscent of our Young Lovers in New York when the experiment
Great call.
When the experiment started going nuts.
So stroby, so quick, you almost can't pay attention to see what's happening. Bob does one of his great phrases where he says, I'm going to catch you with my death bag. But instead, he got caught with a right hook.
He got caught. This is Conor McGregor probably should have studied
Freddie, and if he wanted to beat Mayweather, that's for sure.
He should have worn that green glove. So, I would say this is a pretty typical doppelganger faces a real person in a sheriff's station with a mystical green glove.
Very realistic.
This is a typical way I've seen this kind of scene executed.
Yeah, you know what? If you've seen one Bob Ball be defeated by a guy in a green glove, you've seen them all. Show us something new, Lynch.
You've seen them all. So Coop goes and he pulls
the final piece of the puzzle to take care of Mr. C.
He puts on, when he woke up at full strength, Mike happened to be sharing a room at the hospital and handed the Owl Cave ring to Coop, and Coop knows enough to not put it on.
Smart Coop. Coop. He puts it on. Mr. C's ring finger. What did Gordon call that? The mound? What did he call the ring finger? The mound? Remember when he was showing Tammy Preston, this is this.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember.
He puts it in the right place. Another simple effect. They have smoke coming out of Mr. C. Love it. This Mr. C dissolves into the Red Room of the Black Lodge. He's gone. Who's going to clean these carpets?
Who? Yeah. Lucy, call the carpet guy. So this was something where initially when I first saw this, I was really disappointed because
You gave this a 9 out of 10. How could you be disappointed?
Well, I was a little disappointed that Coop and Mr. C that Mr. C was gone. I mean, Mr. C was almost always my favorite character in just about any scene he was in, and so to see him go away without too much interaction at all.
30 minutes in, to part 17, meaning you got an hour and a half left. Mr. C, we hardly knew ye.
We hardly knew you. But in terms of where Mr. C ranked, where Mr. C wasn't, he didn't rank as high as Coop, so maybe they didn't need to face off. I was okay with that element of it.
Okay.
But, man,
It felt like when we were watching it, Mork, you were even saying, well, how can he go so quickly? How can he go so early? Because there are 90 minutes left in this.
Right. No, I mean, when it happened, I was like, no, this can't be. But, I mean, this is kind of what these guys have been doing, and, not just, I mean, really this whole season is taking the things that we expect, and, we expected to see Special Agent Dale Cooper much earlier than at the very end of part 16. And that's not what they did.
I have to be honest, I saw him and I thought, well, at least I'll have 2 more hours of Coop. It didn't feel like we got 2 more hours of Coop, even though he's the main star throughout this.
Well, but I think some of it is just where Coop is doing his thing, what he's doing, and how. And a lot of that we don't understand.
No, it seems like it was not even Coop. It was Richard for a bit, having sex with Linda. It was a bunch of stuff.
Okay, that is a good point. Let's get to that.
Well, the next thing that comes up, and it feels like, okay, things are starting to tie together. Cooper asks Frank Truman for the Great Northern Key. He needs key 315. And, of course, I'm trying to figure out where this is going, and I'm thinking, how can that pay off? It just didn't make too much sense of anything, to be completely honest. Yeah, I was like, well, what is there still to do with the Great Northern? But Cooper...
Well, but we knew, time out.
We know there's the hum, but...
Yeah, that's exactly it. We knew there was that hum, and so I thought we were going back to the room, and...
Yeah, we didn't, though.
No.
But to do what? When you saw the key, what did you think they were going to do? I had no idea.
No, I didn't know. But before they get to the Great Northern, Cole and Albert and Agent TP show up, and there's a nice little reunion here. It wasn't Albert and Coop didn't really get to interact as much as I know I would have liked, but...
Well, you say there's a great reunion here. All of these moments are put together with the face of Cooper over the screen.
So...
And all I could think about was... This has got to be who the dreamer is. If we live inside a dream, and here we're spending this whole time over with a superimposed Cooper face over the image, to me it read that Cooper was the dreamer. I don't know if that's true, but that's the only thing that could make sense to me.
Well, no, I think that does...
I'm not sure that's right, having seen the rest of this, but...
I would say, for me, that definitely fits together. I can't quite say that it makes sense, because I'm not sure what all of the things that we're seeing. And this is, this was, for me, seeing Coop with these people, but not really interacting with them, not, this is not another case he's going to get to work on with Albert. He's not going to get to show, Tammy Preston the ropes. He's not going to have any sort of meaningful reunion with Bobby, who he had a very antagonistic relationship with, and rightly so. I mean, Bobby was a real punk.
Yeah, but here's Bobby here, part of the Good Time Gang with everybody there.
Yeah.
Everybody, we're missing so many people like Shelley and Audrey and Norma and
Harry.
Big Ed and definitely Harry. Oh, my God, heartbreaking no Harry. But Cooper's gathered them all together, and he's telling them something that, boy, I didn't realize how much it was going to change. Cooper is telling them, thank God you're all here, and thank God we're all brought us to where we are today. And this is the line, now there are some things that will change. And theoretically, so much does change. It's hard to fathom. And he says the episode's line, the past dictates the future.
Right.
And oh boy, is the future really going to be changed. Mork, as the Pink Ladies bring in some sandwiches to get everybody ready.
Oh, I'm hungry.
How about we read some more of these nice reviews that the listeners were kind enough to give us?
That sounds like that's your best idea all night, Bubba.
All right, well, I'll read one here from the USA iTunes Store. 5-star review entitled, My Absolute Favorite Twin Peaks Podcast. This is from somebody who's given us great comments all the return long on YouTube. Jamie Michelle 68. Jamie writes, these guys are fun, entertaining, and hilarious. If you're looking for an interesting commentary and hilarity, look no further. Bubba and Mork have great theories and enrich my viewing experience as a Triple L. Loyal Lynch lover. They are the one podcast I can't wait to listen to weekly. I've subscribed to them on Facebook, YouTube, and right here on iTunes. Thank you so much, Jamie Michelle. And the best part of them, they love to interact with their fans. That's totally true. They've turned me into a double L, loyal listener, and I often interact with them on YouTube, and I truly enjoy it. Thank you so much. That's what we don't have ads. That's what we love doing. Thank you so much.
That is the best. Oh, okay. This is finally, we're going to get to some real stuff. This is from Mr. Mooney.
All right.
Sweeping and French ladies, 4 stars.
I'll give 4 stars for the French ladies and remove a star for sweeping.
These guys are Double P.
Double P.
Personable podcasters.
Well, thank you so much.
But I think this is the reason why we only got 4 stars, Bubba.
Let's hear it.
Well, Mr. Mooney says, but Bubba needs to come over to Team Jade, right, Mork? And yeah, absolutely.
Mork, you gave these final 2 parts 9 out of 10 without any Jade. I think you should go 0 out of 10. No Jade.
Look, that is...
That's real Team Jade, Mr. Mooney.
I was... That hurts, Bubba.
Good.
Rebar...
Thank you so much, Mr. Mooney.
Thank you.
Here's Rebar Triple Z. Best Twin Peaks podcast, 5 stars. This is a fantastic podcast. I've been binging it at work. Both the recaps and the historical backstory for Twin Peaks have made watching The Return a much richer experience. Thank you so much.
Do you think this is the only thing that Rebar Triple Z binges at work? JKid56 says 10 double C's.
Double C's?
5 stars. Coalescing Coopers. Bubba and Mork, I'm Jason from New York, and I've rallied here with every episode of The Return, but only after Agent Cooper's triumphant return.
Yeah.
Have I made the time to give you your multiple double Ps? A season's worth of podcasting panache. I enjoy how you both weave and jive like 2 boxers, getting to the heart of the matter each week. I'm going to stick around to see what comes out of your camp, Chance. Keep up the good work, guys, and your efforts and energies are appreciated.
We jive and weave, but let me tell you something. At a certain point, Freddie just takes me out. He knocks me funny with his green glove of death.
His green fist of death.
Let's read one more, then let's give away another. Pull somebody's name for some more prizes.
All right, let's do that.
So here it says 5 double M's and 5 double B's.
Double M, double B's?
That's a 5-star review from Biker Man John, who writes, this is a very well-delivered, smooth, and enjoyable analysis of Twin Peaks. They are as in the dark as these parts drop as we are. But
sometimes more so.
We're totally in the dark. But they link and cross-link their encyclopedic memory of the show and mention relevant public theories. There is a nice vein of humor through their delivery as well. 5 double M's. And he doesn't mean meandering Morks. But I enjoy 5 double B's.
Double B's?
Brilliant Bubbas.
No, really. What does double B stand for?
We'll never know. Thank you so much, Biker Man John.
That's
and your name is one of the names in here. We're going to pull, and let's see who is going to win and tell us what they want. And here it is right here. I've pulled it out of the big prize bowl. Ooh, this is from the great country of Canada. It's Matthew Z.G. LeBlanc.
Matt
LeBlanc.
Yay!
Go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/Double
So cool.
P Podcast. Give us a mailing address and tell us which of the prizes we mentioned before you would like to win. Mork, this was a great time in the podcast to take a break because not only are the Pink Ladies bringing in sandwiches, but this superimposed Cooper face over everything really marks a gigantic change, a seismic change in what's happening.
Right. One thing that I've been sort of chewing on a little bit
are these sandwiches that Candy brought in.
I mean, is this cucumber? I can't tell. I mean, it's so delicious. No, but so we've been talking throughout about, well, what does the Roadhouse represent? Last week with Audrey there, doing Audrey's dance, and then waking up in some weird white room, maybe a dentist office.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that later on. What
Can't wait to talk about the reveal about Audrey in this part 18.
Bubba, we're going to get there. But, in terms of, what does the Roadhouse represent in terms of, what are we seeing? How are we seeing it? And so is there any connection to, it's almost like the way that Coop's face is superimposed on the screen. It almost feels like he's watching this. He's a viewer. I mean, he's the dreamer. So,
oh, man, it goes back to the great ending of my favorite Twin Peaks episode of all time, the episode which revealed the killer, which ends with Cooper's face in the Roadhouse dissolving to the red curtains and being superimposed by the red curtains. Yeah.
That's a great call.
As he's looking at Naidu, and once again, we hope we're pronouncing her name correctly, her face turns to that black smoke, which we've seen so many people in the lodge have.
Mm-hmm.
Then, in the lodge, in the red room, what do you even want to call this? It's like a black stone. It's like a piece of coal with a gem in it. What do you want to call this thing? It's like somehow Diane is released. What would you call it?
I thought it was like a head or something. But actually, it appears, if you can just back up a little bit, we're watching this on Bubba's 9-inch black and white television. Can you see anything in the reflection?
I'm looking. You mean in the jewel?
Yeah.
Well, how about this for an idea? I love the fact that Naidu's face cracks open.
Mm-hmm.
And is it a rock or is it one of the eggs that the monster spit out? Remember how we saw the monster spit out eggs?
Yeah.
Earlier, it could be that, but you're right. There's a black jewel in this. I don't see anything in the reflection just yet. At a certain point, it dissolves to Diane's face, but was there something you thought you saw?
The only thing I think I could make out would be guys in black suits with their hands crossed, which, who knows what that could be. So Diane's face is revealed inside the red room, and then back in Truman's office.
There she is. This is so freaky. People have been saying that Naidu's name written backwards is a bit like "Oh, Diane." So people had said, "Oh, maybe that's her," especially after last week when she said, "I'm in the sheriff's station." So a lot of people put that to mean that it was her.
That's a great call. I actually, thanks for pointing that out, Bubba. I forgot that she said that before she
for her tulpa disappeared.
Her tulpa said that, yeah. And they do something that was really unexpected.
Yeah, and I thought was so weird.
Right.
Why were they kissing?
Well,
Cooper comes up, and he and Diane kiss. No, they are going to do a lot more. But this felt completely out of the blue. Now, why don't you say, I even said it while we were watching, why don't you say what you said when I said, what in the world, why are they kissing?
Well, last week when Diane was telling the story about when Mr. C came to visit her, she thought at first it was Cooper, but then they were sitting on her couch and they kissed, and she knew that it wasn't him.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just thinking, oh, well, this is a way to basically prove that Coop is really Coop and Diane is really Diane. They would know each other.
Yeah, but it just shocked me. It's still, admittedly, I haven't had time to sit with it a while. It's still just a bit odd to see such a passionate kiss.
Yeah, I was not. I definitely wasn't expecting it. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't expecting it, and I certainly wasn't expecting what came later.
Yeah, their relationship moves pretty fast.
It moves pretty quick. So, but there is still some work to do.
There is. And in fact, once again, I said it's a seismic kind of shift that happens in the show when Cooper's face is superimposed over the screen. And I almost want to say that the kiss stops it because his face does stop being superimposed over the screen.
But then it comes back.
But then it comes back when he looks at the clock. We're at 2:53.
Well, not just 2:53.
And the time is shifting back and forth, like we're stuck in this moment, even though all these characters, they're not acting like they're stuck in a moment, stuck in a time. So this is why I'm saying this was the big shift. And when Cooper says we live inside a dream, I hope I see you all again, then the oh my God, is this all a dream thought process goes, what is happening? How could this be? This has behaved very much like dream logic.
Right.
But it just freaked me out. Cooper and Gordon, like the room desaturates, everything goes crazy. And so theoretically the dream ends, and now we're with Cooper in the boiler room.
Well, I want to
near the Great Northern.
I just want to point out as it sort of desaturates, that really feels like the exact image that was superimposed on before it did. Before all the colors.
So we've
went
woken
away.
up from the dream, right? Would that? Am I interpreting this right, or?
I mean, it feels like that really tracks. I mean, Cooper, and one thing I want to point out, Cooper does ask Diane if she remembers everything. She says she does.
Right. That was before that was
exactly.
Everything went to heck.
Right. So Cole basically shouts out, Coop.
Everybody, the three kind of special ones there connected to the sidekick world, and I guess I'm leaving Hawk out of this, but Diane, Cooper, and Gordon, they can tell something's happening. Next thing we know, and who knows if this is happening in time, they are underneath the Great Northern in that infamous boiler room place where James Hurley had heard the noises a couple of parts ago.
Well, not only that, they seem to be going through a similar space as Mr. C. When he was walking through, before he saw Philip Jeffries, that's what it looked like.
Oh, well, I didn't see it that way. I think they're going to get there, meaning that Cooper gets to this place where the noise, the infamous hum, was emitting from. Mm-hmm. He uses his 315 key and goes in, but doesn't he go in alone?
He does,
and that's where it feels like he gets to the room above the convenience store / the wallpaper place from Laura's dream to the staircase which leads to the motel.
No. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry if I wasn't clear. I just the way that it was shot was very reminiscent of.
Oh, it was reminiscent of it, right?
But this is another. I'm going to deduct another 10th of a triple C.
Yeah.
This is the last time. I mean, we don't know it, but we're not going to see Hawk or Lucy or Andy or
Bobby or James or
Bobby
Freddie
or the Mitchum brothers
or the Pink Ladies.
We're not going to see. We don't know it, and so we didn't really get to have. We didn't need like everyone gives each other a hug and fade out. But this was a little jarring, and it does lead to what exactly are we seeing, and maybe is it possible that if Coop is the dreamer, has he woken up from the coma? Where is he? Because he's there. He interacts with them. They obviously connect. But then he says, "I'll see you at the curtain call," and then he's out.
I would say that this next section is my favorite moment in the two parts where we're going to go. But if I had known, you're right, that was the last time we'd see so many of those characters, so many of the other characters that we love we would never see again, then it would feel a bit weird. But because of where this leads us to, because of where this gets us to, I was down with it entirely. Cooper goes in, he leaves his friends behind, he actually hugs Diane goodbye. Mm-hmm. That's when he drops his curtain call line.
Yeah.
And it is like this next section feels so much like the very last episode of Season 2 with Cooper in the Black Lodge, the Red Room, and chasing Wyndham Earl and looking for Annie. That part was so trippy, so wonderful, so, oh my God, what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
And this whole section, the rest of Part 17, which is another pretty much 20 minutes,
mm-hmm.
I was over the moon. This was incredible. This was the feeling I wanted. When Cooper goes through the door, goes towards the hum, he runs into Mike, the one-armed man, who says the infamous, "Through the darkness of future past, the magician longs to see one chance out between two worlds. Fire, walk with me." Hell yeah, this is it. We are there.
Yeah.
It is time to go. Giddy up, buddy. Giddy up. Let's do this.
Yeah, no, this is fantastic. And it's like, okay, now it's on. I was loving this, don't get me wrong. I just, sort of as we're taking a look at it again, it was kind of like, oh, nuts. We don't get to see any of those folks again anymore.
All those characters that we love. No, it's heartbreaking. We're going through the doorway, up the stairwell that we know so well. What's funny is it's like they're being chased up the stairwell.
Well, they're going up, and someone is going down.
Yes.
So
the jumping man. Oh, so creepy, so scary. Is that a sign that Cooper shouldn't go around here? Because if the jumping man's here, to me, that's not good.
What it made me think about and made me a bit nervous is as Coop's going in, Jumping Man's coming out, and he's just going to go. As far as we know, Cole and Diane, or a version of Diane. Oh
no, that's a great call.
Could be there when the Jumping Man comes out of the boiler room. So,
great call, Mork.
We don't know.
Oh my goodness gracious,
we don't know, which is why I'm deducting another half of a tenth of a triple C. So we're walking through the forest, or walking down the hall that sort of blends into a forest, and then
we're going to see everybody's
lot.
Favorite tea kettle.
People. We have heat warnings. We don't need to leave the kettle on too long. I don't know. You shouldn't be drinking hot tea anyway. But Philip Jeffries is here, and he's got some interesting things to say to our friend Coop.
To be honest, I'm not so sure he, God rest the tin machine, the tin man, the tea kettle, but he's saying February 23rd, 1989. That is the night that Laura Palmer died. Actually, sorry, that's what they're saying to him. And Philip Jeffries says, I'll find it for you. It's slippery in here.
Yeah.
Meaning time is slipping through here. It's good to see you again, Cooper, is what Jeffrey says. Maybe not so good. Ugh, maybe not so good.
So he tells Coop, say hi to Gordon, and then he says something really interesting. He'll remember the unofficial version.
Yeah.
So
yes, Mork, what does that mean to you?
It just made me feel that the relationship between Blue Book and Blue Rose, in a lot of ways, Blue Rose continued, some of the work. But I don't know. I'm sorry.
Well, you let us down a meandering Mork there, buddy.
That happens.
But who can blame you? This is very difficult to understand. Jeffries, he's powerful. He's going to take Cooper back to the night Laura Palmer died. When I heard that date, I was like, oh my goodness, it is on, it is on, it is on. The final thing Jeffrey does for them is he shows the infamous owl cave ring symbol, which then does a little morph to the two diamonds on top of each other. This is another symbol that was actually in the owl cave. Then that morphs into an 8. Then in the 8 is a little ball. Now, it wasn't a gold ball. It wasn't anything. But damn if I didn't think, is that the Laura Palmer ball? Is that what that is? What's in this 8, simple 8?
Well, is it 8 or is it infinity?
Good point.
And
I thought 8 because we've been focused on numbers so much, but you're right, it could totally be infinity.
Right. And if it is Laura and Laura is just the Laura ball is kind of floating through infinity, that's a troubling and scary thought.
It is. We hear the one-armed man say electricity, snap, crackle, pop.
Yeah. Never a good idea, but he says it, and stuff goes bananas.
Now, before, Mork, we get into Fire Walk with Me, why don't we take a real brief pause real quick and read some more of these wonderful reviews. People have been kind enough to write them, so we want to read them, and then we'll pull another name from the bowl to give away some more winners.
All right, let's do that. This is from Man Without Fear 05. Effing loving it, 5 stars.
Woo!
Writing from the home of Gordon Cole and Albert Rosenfield, Philadelphia.
Philly!
So, unfortunately, I discovered this podcast only a few episodes into the return, but I look forward to it every Monday.
Thank you.
What I like is that they are around for the first series, which gives a different perspective from newer YouTubers who discovered Twin Peaks in the last 10 years or so. They help me get through my double M's.
Double M's?
Manic Mondays.
Oh, man. We got a holiday tomorrow, Manic Monday.
Oh, I know. I listen to them at the gym as soon as they drop their new podcast. They aren't afraid to criticize aspects of Lynch's work, which is refreshing. Sometimes other podcasts seem to accept everything and anything from Lynch as Lynchian. Lynchian. I love their podcast and hope one day we get a season 4 and more of the gifted
and the damned.
Love from the city of brotherly love.
Boy, I think so many people are going to want a season 4 after this. I mean, this, oh my goodness. Let's get another couple of reviews. Here's one from Carmy Cats. I hope I pronounced that correctly. 5 stars, intelligent, timely, funny. Double A. Always amazed at how quickly Mork and Bubba put this together. Quality is always top-notch, and these guys don't stumble on character names, plot points that were just covered like 2 episodes parts ago. Looking at you, other unnamed podcasts. Get it together or just stop.
Ouch.
I'm going to miss Twin Peaks, but I have enjoyed the ride with these guys and look forward to the last 2 parts. Finally, to Bubba, relax about the resolutions. Frost and Lynch will take care of us.
Yeah. See, Bubba? Relax. Yeah. Trust Karma Cats.
Heck yeah.
They got it right. All right. This is from
the resolution around Audrey was my favorite, though.
Oh, well, it was just, it was spot on.
We'll get to that. It's part 18.
We'll get to that. All right. This is from 04's Double D.
Double D.
Dynamic duo. 5 stars.
Hey.
I didn't watch Twin Peaks when it ran for the first time, but it was certainly in the zeitgeist. Something about coffee, pie, and a lady carrying a log.
It was.
I quickly watched seasons 1 and 2 along with Fire Walk with Me to be ready for the return. I tried different podcasts because I'm equally fascinated and frustrated with this show.
Hey, yeah.
The Gifted
and the Damned
helps me look at Twin Peaks in ways I hadn't considered. Bubba and Mork are a joy.
Yay!
They can even make hearing listener feedback fun.
Aw.
Especially this. I started listening to the Joffrey of podcast and enjoy that too.
All right.
The season is almost over, and I don't know if Twin Peaks will get another season. I hope Bubba and Mork plan on covering other TV shows, or I'll be lost. P.S. I would love an origin story episode. How did Bubba and Mork meet? Why did they decide to podcast together? How did they come up with the name WP for their network?
Boy, we're going to have to answer some of these questions on our feedback podcast.
It's almost as believable as this episode. This part, excuse us.
All right, let's
pull a
pause
name.
Here. Let's pull a name. Mork, pull one out of the bowl. Let's see.
All right, I'm going to put on my good hook for a hand and pull out.
Who we got?
Let's see this. Also from the US of A, Neftones.
Oh, thank you. Congratulations, Neftones. You've got to go to our Facebook page, give us a mailing address, and also tell us which of the prizes you would like. First one gets their pick. Second one gets what remains, and so on, and infinity, like that symbol of the Owl Cave ring.
Poor Laura.
Speaking of Laura, we get to live through her last night again. I saw people on Twitter saying, Cooper, you couldn't have gone back like 5 years earlier and prevented her from being raped by her father?
Yeah. There's a lot of, oh man. There's some stuff that just in this context, in framing it this way, and how they cut it together. We've seen
Fire Walk with Me. We've seen all these scenes, but yes, it's totally new now.
Right.
Totally new now in the black and white and through the Cooper in filter. Mm-hmm. It is totally new. So let's get to it, Mork. Is Cooper succeed? Does he prevent Laura Palmer from getting killed? What do you think happens in this whole section? We can go over it beat by beat. There's some fun moments where we're like, remember when Laura just kind of screamed out of the blue in Fire Walk with Me? Now they give a context to that. Well, she saw this creepy old man in a black suit. She's looking at her in the trees.
This creepy old man who she's been dreaming about, who looks just like the guy from Sex and the City. No, it is. Yeah, that was really well done, and a lot of these beats, and we don't need to describe all of it because
you've seen it before.
People have seen it in this episode, and hopefully in the episodes or films that they initially appeared. They say goodbye, and Cooper's following, and he, for a moment at least, he does seem to save her. And this is mind melting. This is crazy. How is this possible? This is
my favorite moment in the entire thing is this long shot of Jacques Renault, Leo. Boy, we did get to see Leo in the return, and Ronette Pulaski waiting for Laura. A Laura who never shows. I love those shots because they weren't in Fire Walk with Me. It was just Laura coming upon the three of them. So these outtakes from Fire Walk with Me, love it. Then
I got to burst your bubble, though,
then
real quick.
We go, yeah.
So if Laura didn't show up, did something really bad, something even worse happen to Ronette?
Well, let's go through it. The terrible things that happened in those cabins, Jacques' cabin.
Right. Well, because
theoretically they did
Leland,
happen.
But Leland was following Laura.
He was following Laura.
So he wouldn't have gotten to her. Right.
Is that maybe what happened, and that's why Cooper couldn't save her and she disappeared from his hand? It's tricky to understand.
Yeah. Well, we'll do our best. So,
what do you think of them in the black and white? Cheryl Lee's got the Laura Palmer wig on again. Mm-hmm. What do you think of this? It worked.
Oh, yeah.
It shouldn't work, but it totally worked as, oh, my God, Cooper is changing time. This was my favorite section of the entire thing. Blew me away. Totally incredible.
So how does it work, though? I mean, because of what we're about to see. And one thing, we're hearing a song.
What do you mean, what we're about to see?
Well, what we're about to see when we see Pete Martell.
He did change time, right? If Pete went fishing and there was no body there. Well, why are you confused? Sorry.
No, well, why am I confused?
Yeah, sorry, that was a terribly dumb question that I asked. Listeners, why aren't we confused? Here I'm trying to act like, well, dude, how can you be confused about this? No, of course you can be confused.
At this moment, it definitely does seem like he changes time. But when we see, and we don't actually see her, but when we see the back and we cut to the present and we see the house and we see the ashtrays stuffed with cigarettes and we know we're inside the Palmer home, and we see Sarah.
Oh, you thought that was the present? I thought that was still 1989.
I felt like, well, no, I think I felt that it is the present just because the house then seemed to be in so much nicer, condition.
Listeners, go to our Facebook page. We love talking about so much, but go to our Facebook page and tell us, is that scene where Sarah Palmer comes out, there's all that wailing at the Palmer house, Sarah comes out and then smashes the frame and then smashes the glass in the picture frame, which, of course, is a famous callback to Leland smashing it. Was that in 1989 or was that in the present? I believe it was supposed to be in 1989. Mork, I didn't see gray in the hair that Sarah Palmer had, but we'll look at it closer now and see if we can figure it out.
So let's point out just a couple of things. So he holds her hand. Cooper holds her hand.
Laura's hand.
And then we cut to next to the, I don't even know the body of water, the river.
There are a million different kind of areas. It's Black Lake in the framing of the original show. The Pearl Lakes were out in the Ghost Woods, but it was the Black Lake here that the body of Laura Palmer was found on. And theoretically, Pearl Lakes go through some rivers which lead to the Black Lake. That's how in Fire Walk with Me, Leland could put the wrapped in plastic body into one of the lakes theoretically up there near Glastonbury Grove. And if you trust the maps, it would go down to the Black Lake, which then somehow dumps into Whitetail Falls near the Great Northern. All right, there's some map work for us. Okay, let's just keep going on. It doesn't matter.
Well, correct, but it doesn't wash up. Pete doesn't see anything, but we're actually in
we're in color now.
We're in color,
and then there's a hilarious shot of some person playing Pete fishing. Next thing you know, it is night, and it's in the Palmer house, and this is the stuff that I believed was still 1989.
Right, and it definitely could be, and the furniture is certainly not the most modern furniture. I just felt like it looked a lot like how we've seen the Palmer
house
look now, where she's. I mean, I don't see any Bloody Marys or remnants of several Bloody Marys on the coffee table, but that ashtray and the house doesn't look as just perfect as it usually did.
Well, how about maybe it's 1989 because the picture frame is framed still.
That's a great call. That is a wonderful call. And
why?
Also, and that was, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what we're talking about, and I thought that
no, this has got to, maybe it is the present because there's vodka. There's vodka on the. There's vodka.
There is vodka, yeah.
And that's what you wouldn't think she was drinking that back in 1989.
Well, not with Leland around.
You wouldn't think so. Yeah, there are a bunch of pills too on the little table here, and that could be the big screen TV.
That does look like a big screen TV.
So, in the present, why would the thing that has become the thing that has become Sarah Palmer smash up the picture of Laura?
Maybe she is simply trying to just erase Laura from her memory. She knows. I don't know. She's reacting to something. What she's reacting to, I don't know. But it's as if she was. So here's just a random thought. If it is no longer Sarah Palmer, and is there to do harm of some sort, when we saw Hawk go to the house and we heard the noises and she was totally fine, and we obviously saw what happened to that real jerk at the bar, which I still don't have any problem with, and maybe she was waiting somehow to I don't know, attack Laura again. I don't know, and now she can't. I don't know how this makes sense. I'm just responding to some of the visual cues that we're seeing, and then we go back into the forest where
Cooper is leading.
But before we left, it had turned color, and
right, and it's color now too. Cooper's leading Laura through the forest, theoretically, to this place just past Jack Rabbit's palace, where the one sycamore tree is. So is he leading her into the future? Because theoretically, you wouldn't have thought it looked like this in the past. There's a great effect where Cooper is leading Laura. She's holding his hand. The camera zooms in on Cooper, pan down to his hand. She's gone. We hear Laura screaming. Where did she go?
Well, I thought this was going to be. I thought we were going to see something that was owl-like, but was not an owl. I mean, we hear whooshing, we hear the screaming. We're in the woods, and so this is when. So we saw a moment ago what I thought was Laura having been saved, and not being found dead. But then now the owl is taking her back. So that's why I'm confused. And
one of the many reasons we're confused.
Correct. Right. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, throw this one on the pile of confusion. I mean, it was beautiful, and a couple things I just want to point out really quickly in terms of kind of music cues and some of the visual stuff. One, I thought when they turned the color on, it really felt a lot like The Wizard of Oz. Some of that
good
green
call,
that
certainly.
they used, and the other is the song.
The World Spins by Julie Cruz, or the one before this?
The one from the Platters.
Oh,
is we've heard it before in episode 8. I'm sorry, part 8, and that's the Platters had a one of their singers was named David Lynch. So that.
Well, I don't think we hear that song till part 18, though, right?
You know what? I'm going through my scribbled notes here, and you could totally be right.
Isn't that the song when he and?
Oh, that's when he and. I try to forget that part of it.
Okay, so but do you feel it ties into this moment at any time, or you were just?
No. I'm looking at my scribbled notes, and it was all like there's a big circle connecting them. So that was more of a thematic circle, not a part circle. But Julie Cruz is back, as many like Etienne Bennett was hoping for. Julie Cruz, we get to see tonight, and she's singing. She's singing "The World Spins,"
the song which played in my favorite episode of Twin Peaks when they revealed Leland had killed Maddie, a.k.a. Leland was Bob, a.k.a. Leland killed Laura. We cut back to the Roadhouse. My favorite moment of Donna crying, of Bobby looking around. What in the world just happened? Cooper, he's looking up, and of course his face, that infamous face, dissolve over the credits. I believe this is not a new recording, even though this is obviously modern-day Julie Cruz singing. It sounds identical to the one, to the original.
Yeah, I think it is the original.
But so good, so powerful. But this is where I get to be the bad guy. Part 18 frustrated me so much. This was the high point. This was wonderful. I'm hearing The World Spins being sung by Julie Cruz.
Yeah.
I've seen possibly the past just changed.
But
this is as great as it gets. I am so psyched. I am so thrilled. And then for people who don't like hearing me being frustrated, the rest was just one frustration after another.
Well, before I want to just raise one more question before we jump into part 18, and that is the idea that's been floated around. Did anything that we see in this part track with the idea of Laura from Fire Walk with Me being a doppelganger, being a tulpa, being manufactured, anything like that. Did that?
None of that came to mind. No.
Okay.
Sorry, did it come to mind for you? Do you want to throw out an idea, a theory?
It's just more of and I'm never sure how to pronounce it, a Mobius strip in terms of who is what, where, and as we see in this part, when. So I don't want to spend too much time on it. I want to think about it, and we'll save that for a couple weeks from now. Before we jump into Part 18, do we want to share a couple more reviews?
We have to, because you guys have been so kind to give us these reviews. This next one, it's long, so just bear with us. We'll only do 2 now, mainly because this one, it's wonderful from Second to None 59. Go Cards! But it is a bit long, so let's burn through it. The title is Double W's, Wildly Wonderful 5 stars.
Awesome.
As we approach the conclusion of the controversial Twin Peaks 3rd season, it is past time I reviewed what has become one of my top 5 favorite podcasts of the approximately 20 considered my favorites regardless of subject.
I'll take it.
Heck yeah. They are also now among my top 2
right.
of Twin Peaks podcasts. When the 3rd season was announced, I was already listening to a number of podcasts which were involved in either rewatching the original series or reviewing the classic series in general. Many had been around for years. Therefore, when the new series began, I was listening to almost a dozen. But as the preseason and finally the actual season started, they were whittled down based on coverage, the hosts themselves, and how much I obtained as far as information, details, etc. Mort and Bubba set themselves up well with a podcast which doesn't lag, get boring, or turn into long-winded rambling that go nowhere. Mort,
really?
Do you want to? One stands out. While both have great senses of humor, they're not childish or foolish, make stupid, cringe-worthy remarks which leave the listener shaking their heads. So, both make me laugh. Oh, we're trying. Then leave me thinking and forming my own theories and opinions. That is great. Thank you so much. I give them credit for noticing details which other podcasters, too, fall in love with the sounds of their own voices, often miss even the obvious. Both are fans. Thank you, but we're not fanboys. Something I appreciate because it enables them to approach the show they love on an objective level. If they disagree on something, they call it as it is, regardless of whether the opinion is popular with the Uber fans or not. They often disagree with each other. We sure do.
No, we don't.
They detail let's just get to it. I think Mork and Bubba have gone through the same sort of sorting out what has been presented. It's why I hope they continue to broadcast for time being, as well as we all offer our thoughts and opinions on Season 3 in a general scheme and how it affects our outlook on the original. They're the type of guys I love to have a beer with and discuss what we've witnessed and never worry about them launching into name-calling. That's not something I say about a lot of other podcasters, Twin Peaks or otherwise. Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. One more from the USA. This is from Don 44444. Quintuple Force.
Heck yeah.
Love it. 5 stars.
Thank you.
Cool. Twin Peaks The Gifted
and the Damned
has become part of my weekly Twin Peaks ritual. I've been a Twin Peaks fan since the early 2000s and always dreamed it would come back. Now that it has, my experience isn't complete until I listen to this podcast after each episode airs.
Thank you,
This is an excellent podcast and a helpful companion to Twin Peaks The Return. It helps explain some of the unexplainable scenes, make sure I don't miss something in the episode. Sorry, part not episode. And overall, we do that too. And overall does a great job recapping each part in the wonderful return to Twin Peaks. I will be sad when the conclusion airs in just a few short days.
Aww.
Thank you, Double P Podcast, for doing such a great job and for enhancing my Twin Peaks experience.
Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. We're happy to do it.
All right. Our 4th prize winner is right here. Oh, my goodness. Another one from the US of A iTunes Store. International listeners, I promise all your names in the bowl. We've just got one more prize this week in the Feedback Podcast. Hopefully somebody will get drawn from overseas. Well, we had Canada once, so that's not overseas, but over
Well, if you're in
borders.
Hawaii, it's overseas.
Oh, good point. So this is from Octool USA. How would you pronounce it? Octool?
Yeah, Octool. Sure.
Octool. Congratulations. Go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/Double P Podcast. Leave us a written review. Sorry, don't leave it. Leave us a mailing address and which of the prizes you would like. Part 18, Mork. This is where frustrated, critical Bubba is going to have. You're going to have to balance me out because you gave it 9 out of 10.
Oh.
This is the part where I'm going to go very frustrated. I'm
Okay.
going to go very, how in the world are we wasting our time on this when we want to see other stuff?
All right.
A take. It begins with your favorite character, Mr. C, in the sauna, just getting
He's getting
sweating it out.
A little shake and bake. Now, one thing about Mr. C is his eyes.
Yeah, which he's been wearing black contact lenses for now. It's like they're pale eyes.
Well, they're the doppelganger eyes.
Heck
from,
yeah.
From back from season 2. Though that is what they look like in the Black Lodge.
Nice knowing you, Mr. C.
Yeah,
Let's
so he
pour
goes-
one out for Mr. C.
We're going to pour one out. And he goes, and this is, the way that he goes is reminiscent of Wyndham Earl.
Oh, yeah, exactly right.
It's a little, I think this is a little better done. It's a slightly revised version of it. So he melts away, he burns away, he just dissipates into the ether.
Get out of here, you damn doppelganger.
You damn doppelganger, you. But Mike is there. And Mike, let's give a shout-out to Al Strobel, who...
Oh, yeah,
we
so
had
wonderful. We had the pleasure to talk to for just a little bit of time. So great.
Yeah, back when we saw a screening. And he's been doing double duty. He's all over the place.
Man,
he's in the Black
he can
Lodge.
make tulpas, he can make doppelgangers. Combining Cooper's hair with the seed, the infamous seed, he creates Dougie Jones 2.0. I want to call it 2.0, but it might be 3.0 at this rate.
At this rate, yeah. So he's looking good. He's looking healthy. He's looking sunny, and
He's got the Dougie Jones attitude. Hey, big smile on my face. Where am I?
right, yeah. He's definitely he's not Sunny Jim, but he's Sunny Dougie. He goes from the red
Sonny Dougie.
He goes from
I like that. Okay.
He goes from the red room to the red door, rings the doorbell, and now I think he did make a slight detour to go visit Jade.
Oh, boy. Okay, fan fiction at work here, people. But you know what? If Part 18 didn't give me a lot, it did bring quote-unquote happiness to Janie E. Jones and Sonny Jim, so I'm happy. Good Part 18. Now let's get to the trouble.
So we go back into the forest.
Yeah, we're reliving Part 17.
Right. So
reestablishing ourselves there. Cooper's trying to lead Laura through the forest. It's in color, important to note. As the camera zooms in on Coop, we lose sight of Laura. Cooper has lost touch of Laura. He's lost his connection with Laura. She's gone. And so now he's got to go find her. Pause. Dramatic pause. Sorry, did you want to say anything more? Sorry, that's why I stopped talking. Sorry.
Oh, no. I mean, it's interesting because this is actually a bit of it feels like it's a longer shot than what we saw in Part 17 of them going through, because we were sort of cutting away of them walking through, and so this is all one thing, and she is taken away by what the we don't know. It seems like Cooper sees it, though. He doesn't seem to be too terrified. I mean, he just looks and she's gone. He's not too terrified. He's not. Yeah, but he doesn't chase after her. He's not pulling his gun.
Right, but suddenly he turns and he's reliving scenes that we've seen from earlier in the seasons.
Right.
He's getting a previously on. It's of course our boy Mike with his catchphrase that's sweeping the nation. That's almost too many characters for Twitter, but is it the future or is this the past? And we're brought back to the beginning of Twin Peaks: The Return. Crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this is definitely where the mind bending begins. Mike asks him, that very question. Cooper is pondering it. And do you think we're back where we were, or are we back here?
Are we just reliving it? I would have to go and watch these parts again to see if this is the exact identical footage as we saw before. Not all of it's identical, but still, there's some parts which I think are identical.
Well,
they're just so close that it's impossible to tell.
Right.
Like when they meet the infamous, the arm, a.k.a. sponsored by T-Mobile.
Sponsored by T-Mobile. So, but this is interesting because the first time Coop met the arm sponsored by T-Mobile, it was the doppelganger.
I don't think that's true. I think it's when he walked down the hallway and he met the doppelganger, and the doppelganger sent him to non-existent.
But it was the doppelganger of the arm.
Of the arm, yeah.
Right, yeah.
But he had already met the arm.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think this, listeners, this is an Instant Take podcast. This is something we can't easily go and check. But I think there's a chance this is the identical scene we saw. And it's the story of the little girl who lives down the lane.
What is it? And sorry, I'm just sort of really transfixed by. At first, I thought it was a meatball, and now it looks like kind of a snake's mouth without a snake's head without eyes. That the mouth is very snake-like. At least it sort of seems that way to me. Do you have any thoughts on what that might be? I mean, it could be anything.
The brain of the tree.
Okay,
I think it's just a beautiful piece of artwork. Some people have pointed out it's very similar, very similar to the artwork that's on the cover of Julie Cruz's second album she did with David Lynch, and this is not the quote-unquote shoot, and now I'm blanking on her first album. I'll figure it out in a second, but her second album with David Lynch has this type of creature on the cover in front of red curtains, and so a lot of people think it's just a homage to that.
Aha.
Very importantly, though, the next thing we see is, of course, Laura Palmer whispering in Cooper's ear.
Yeah.
They're not cool enough to let us know what she says.
We don't know. And this is a Laura Palmer from, obviously, today.
You would think she's wearing the outfit of the woman who said, I feel like her sometimes, but sometimes my arms bend back, but it's a present-day Laura, like you said.
Well, right. And also Coop is Coop as we know him in the present day. It's not aged Coop from, what we saw 25 years ago.
Right. He's reliving all these things we saw before, including seeing Leland Palmer, who's telling Cooper, find Laura, which, of course, sets us off down the final path of Hear the Return. Find Laura. We need to find Laura. We were told this back in, I believe this was actual part of part 1.
So this is something that I always felt, and I mentioned it earlier, I always felt that this was, this was metaphorical. This was not actually finding Laura, but well, that's what we're going to do. Now, I know that you're frustrated now, and I don't want
by
you
this
to get...
part. I just am. I'm not going to hopefully upset listeners by telling you I'm frustrated. I was still with it while I was actually watching it. It was like, okay, we have seen a lot of this, but I'm still with it. Then we get to the new part where Cooper walks out through the curtains and theoretically is in Glastonbury Grove. Here he's in, or a facsimile, a new version of Glastonbury Grove, because we got the sycamore trees, we've got what looks like the burnt engine oil there, and who is there but Diane?
The real Diane.
What we believe is the real Diane. This totally shook me, and I was like, huh? I had no idea Diane was so important as she's become.
Right, and this might be something in Double L's. If people have X-ray vision memories, I don't know if that really tracks, but who cares? But and Bubba, you can tell me. You've read the book.
Get to it, yeah.
Yeah, well, My Life, My Tapes. So, is there anything in there that would allude to her importance now?
Not really. As I mentioned on last week's podcast covering part 16, it does imply that Diane and Cooper had one intimate moment, but they moved past it. And so we suspected before it began that Laura Dern would be Diane. And of course, when you have somebody like Laura Dern, you have to give them a big part. But at this part in the show, the fact that she's so important, it's just very odd to me, I have to be completely honest. And beyond that, the fact that the curtains disappear, here we are in Glastonbury Grove, the fact that Diane gets so much of this supernatural part of it, it was just very odd in the whole relationship. So, okay.
So I do want to ask you one question that may... Where's Annie?
I said before on this podcast, we're going to have to talk about more in the feedback podcast when we're talking about the series as a whole. I said if they don't answer where's Annie, it's double N.
Double N?
Narrative negligence. I still feel that way. I have to be honest, by this part of the show, the fact that Annie wasn't in it wasn't frustrating me. It was where these story beats, where these movements were taking us. And where it takes us now is theoretically somewhere in the desert. We don't know exactly where. But Cooper and Diane are in this old car, this old beat-up jalopy, and we have no idea where they're going, but...
when
they're going. Great point. Are they somehow in 1989?
One last question for you. If all of these scenes had played out with Annie Blackburn at Coop's side.
Instead of Diane?
Instead of Diane, would you have liked it more?
It would have been more thematically rich, I think. We would have tied the series and the return in the original series tighter together. I don't know if I would have loved the kind of story elements of it more. This is so dreamlike that I feel bad even calling it a story. But
one thing
would you have liked it better if it had been Annie for this part rather than Diane?
Yeah, I mean, I
would have understood the romance more. The fact they're kissing so much and they're about to
and the love scene, which I never really pined for. And I love. I mean, I mentioned it last week where her scene where before her tulpa is confronts Albert and Cole and Tammy. I mean, that was a powerhouse of a scene. So I sort of felt like Laura Dern didn't need to do it anymore. She, we got the full experience of what an amazing actress she is last week. It's great to see more of her, but it was a little bit of a letdown in terms of not seeing other people. At this point, did you feel like we were going to be stuck? Not stuck is maybe not the best word.
Yeah, but you chose stuck. That's an important point for somebody who gave it 9 out of 10. You're the one using the word stuck.
Well, I deducted 2%.
Oh boy! Oh my goodness gracious! What a professional critic.
Listen, Grumpy. We are here.
Grumpy. Logic. Twin Peaks: The Return doesn't have to give me logic. How about you give me some logic? You gave it 9 out of 10, and then you just used the word stuck, so you even felt this way I felt.
Sure.
Point for Bubba.
Yeah. Well, look, I will give you, just like I deducted this, I will give you 1/10 of a point.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, let me point this out. I just want to throw it out there. So one of the things that in the last few episodes in particular, visually, we've seen, it felt like we're following something searching, whether it's electricity following down the line as the camera was going through the forest, over the trees. Felt like, and we had sort of talked about it, we touched on it, just the idea that something was looking for an opening. And I always assumed that it was something bad. And now the way that these electric power lines, the transmission lines, are being shot as Coop and Diane are driving down the road, it sort of felt like, oh, this is Coop, and they are actually looking for a way in. So I'm thinking about some of the earlier shots throughout the season that are similar, of where it looks like there's an entity trying to slip into something. I don't know if it was representing Coop the whole time or Mr. C, but it was reminiscent here. I just thought it was worth mentioning.
Okay, I have to be honest. I didn't think that was. I didn't think that when I saw the electric power lines before, but that's as good a theory as any. That actually makes a lot of sense, Mork. But what doesn't make sense is, 430 miles. Maybe they're 430 miles from Twin Peaks.
430 miles, and what was it also? It was 430 steps.
What were 430 steps?
To Jackrabbit's Palace.
There were? I didn't remember that part of it. Sorry, this is just hard to keep track of everything.
Okay.
But this kiss, once again, it felt like, wait, they're kissing again? And then he says, okay, because things will be different on the other side.
Right.
So they are going someplace. This is a special place. This is one of those places like Glastonbury Grove, like all the places in Mark Frost's book, where they are going through, they're going into a different time, a different space, because suddenly it's night. Suddenly, instead of crawling, they're going fast. I had no idea what the goal or motivation was here, but I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is the end. This is part 18. We're 15 minutes in. This has to be the big action. This has to make the most sense what they're trying to do. And the show just really slowed down again. It went for moments that I could see being intriguing, but I didn't think really had a payoff. The infamous resolution, dare I say it again, but it didn't feel like there was one. So it's just very, very tough.
Well, yeah, we don't...
I thought maybe they've gone back in time to where the frog fly was.
Right. That's a great call. I mean, one thing also that was a little tricky about, really staying with this section is, Leland has told, going back to the Red Room, Leland's told Coop to find Laura. And so, okay, and we see Coop stride out, and then, he sees Diane, and then they're just going to pick up where they left off. But he doesn't really take the time to say, hey, we're going to go find Laura, or it just sort of feels like...
Right, it didn't feel like necessarily they were going to find Laura. Maybe they were.
Well, it did. I guess my point is the way that they're just sort of being together, and in a few minutes they're going to really be together, but they don't feel like they're on a quest together. They don't feel like they're trying to accomplish something together.
No, I completely agree.
And I think that adds to the, well, what's going on here sensation.
Say that again. So they're in this old car. They're pulling up to a motel, which actually is not paved. It's all dirt at this motel. And because the car is old, because the parking area of this motel isn't paved, I'm thinking, is this the past? Have they gone back in time? Once again, I immediately kept thinking of the frog fly, but then my brain also went, wait a minute, is this the exact same hotel where Mr. C and Daria was, where Mr. C, after he killed Daria, he went to see Chantal?
In the room next door?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember is that much about the outside, but when he opens up the room, it seems like a much different layout, where we saw Chantal and the other...
Yeah. My mind is just desperately trying to make sense of it. So, because there's no plan here, it's once again dream logic. Probably the best, creepiest moment for me in this dream logic is Cooper goes in theoretically to get a hotel room. Diane's looking out the car window.
Yeah.
And who does she see? Hey, who's there?
Oh, man. Yeah, this is...
It's a Tulpa/doppelganger of Diane again. What does this say to you, Mork? Your stuttering says it all, because it's like, what in the world?
I mean, if I had to come up with something, it would be, okay, well then, maybe Mr. C is dead, but someone else made a different Tulpa.
Or a different doppelganger. Why are there two Dianes? It doesn't...
But, just to back up, when Coop comes out, don't you think the Tulpa of Diane was hiding behind the pillar?
Right.
Wouldn't Cooper see her if she was there?
It disappeared, right. Is it so implies it's something only Diane can see? This whole dream logic that we're going through here, it's just difficult to comprehend. Cooper gets a hotel room number 7. He brings Diane in, and then it gets to a moment that just didn't make any sense to me. My brain is desperately trying to make it make sense. I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, okay, are they trying to have because I think this possibly could be the past. I'm thinking, are they trying to have baby Laura? Are they trying to give birth to something?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And it never made any sense. I never saw any romance between them. I didn't know we were supposed to have romance between them.
Well, it didn't really seem romantic, and the way that Cooper's acting is, we have seen him turn on the charm, whether it's with even flirting very, gently with
right.
Audrey, or being in love with Annie.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, come on over here. And there's something almost perfunctory about it.
Yeah, there were no sparks flying, in my opinion.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's a ton of, really of any sexual tension, probably because they're kissing all the time until this point. But yeah, they just get busy. And
well, okay, let's go crazy again. So because the hotel isn't paved, because it's gravel, because they're driving an old car,
mm-hmm.
let's say they somehow are stuck in 1989. And this is where the song...
1989 or earlier.
Right, but let's just for time's sake, 1989. And so this is where that song you wanted to talk about, The Platters, comes on. And the Platters song, the lyrics have the word dream in it a lot. Shocking, shock, not shock. But when they wake up, maybe that was the only way to move to the future, like Back to the Future. Marty McFly's got to get busy.
Yeah, and the other thing was, is it possible that way back in part 1 or part 2, when we saw our friends on the couch and they're getting busy and the experiment shows up and kills them both, are they trying to
get the experiment there? Sure,
or open a door, or I don't know what, but. What are they trying to accomplish? Something other than, I don't think it's, they're trying to procreate, but but it
well,
just
my mind went to it. I was trying to find out some reason this was happening. Look at Cooper's face. It's not even...
Yeah, his arms aren't flapping like when he's with Janie E. I mean,
that's how we would know he was enjoying it.
His arms, yeah, there's no flapping. He's just, I mean, it does, it's very, like, it's intense, but it's not particularly romantic. And it makes the mind wonder. And it goes on for a little bit. And
a little bit, yeah.
It goes on, and so it's like, maybe Cole's friend should be getting dressed, next to them. Maybe our sweeping friend should be cleaning up in the background.
Right, that would be great if he was sweeping in the background. Do it.
There's a lot
just
of
sweep in the background. Come on.
Trent, Nine Inch Nails could be playing an entire song during this.
So during this lovemaking scene, I don't know why it's happening. It's not romantic. It's almost not anything. And all I'm thinking is, dude, we've got a little time left in this show. Get on with it, get on with it, get on with it. And admittedly, they were getting on with it. But still, my frustration building. My anger rising.
No, it.
So you gave this 9 out of 10. Defend it. You love this sex.
I do. I absolutely
defend your ranking.
Look, Coop's been playing it real straight for about 25 years, and yes, he did.
How about Diane wiping her hands over Cooper's face?
Well,
she should have put some blood on it, like she's trying to bring back Mr. C.
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, this is something where, in the moment of it, I was concerned because I was really afraid that she was covering his face and she'd pull her hands away, and it would be Mr. C. And
that would have been awesand. That's not what happened.
Not for Diane.
Would have been an awesome, shocking moment for TV.
Yeah, I mean, so I was. That's where my mind was going, was something like that, because Diane seems to be, really trying to accomplish something, and I don't think
9 out of 10,
and I don't think it's only physical. Yeah.
Oh, cover his face.
Yeah.
Cover his doppel face.
So she's covering his eyes. She's covering his face. Is she trying to prevent him from seeing, something? I mean, she's covering his eyes. Is she trying to protect him?
Listeners, write us. Because all Mork's doing is asking questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, this is I'm trying to share in terms of, like, I didn't, yes, it went on for a little bit, but these are the things that I was asking myself as we're watching this, somewhat extended love scene.
Somewhat. All right. So, screen cuts to black.
Yeah.
Like The Sopranos. We're going to take a quick break and get to some more reviews. I believe these are from the Canadian iTunes store. Is that correct, Mork?
That is correct. Let's go. Let's start off with Crow Stand.
Oh, thank you. Crow Stand gave us a 5-star review entitled Silly and Enlightening.
Oh.
I have listened to every single episode, and I keep coming back. I appreciate the depth and insight. And despite some silliness, boy, a lot of silliness, this podcast helps me extend the Twin Peaks experience. Thank you. Thank you, Crow Stand, for listening.
You are welcome. Battling Bud's Buddy.
All right.
Says, powerful podcast, 5 stars.
Thank you, Battling Bud's Buddy.
That is pretty cool. This podcast is filled with quadruple M.
It sure is.
Marvelous meandering Mork moments.
Oh, marvelous.
And Triple B.
Triple B?
Bubba blathering blissfully.
Yeah, blathering.
Oh,
Bubba
buddy.
blathering, babbling blissfully. Thank you so much, Battling Bud.
I started listening to this podcast back when The Secret History came out, and I've stuck with them since. Great coverage of the show, as well as an amazing analysis of the show itself and the industry surrounding the show back in the 1990s. Powerful essays with opinions that are well-formed and backed by reason. Give these guys a listen. Wow.
Thank you so much. All right, so we've got a bunch more reviews to get to. Thank you so much. But we're going to give away our final prize. Oh, and here it goes. Oh, here I was asking for somebody who wasn't in the United States and somebody with a great handle. The final prize this week, we'll give away more prizes in our podcast in 2 weeks, but it's from Hypnotoad 168 in the UK.
Hell yeah.
Hypnotoad Facebook page. Give us a written iTunes review. People, if you want to get the very last prize we're going to be giving away until we get to Mark Frost's The Final Dossier on October 31st, all you have to do is give us a written iTunes review. You can't just leave stars. The way we find you is by you giving us a written iTunes review. Then you go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/double P podcast. That's the word double, the single letter P, the word podcast, plural. Do both those things. You're eligible to win. We've got a huge big bowl here that we're giving away prizes. We don't have ads. We're doing it because we love your discussions, and we love you when you disagree with us. You could give us a negative review. You'd still be eligible to be able to win the prize. All right, Mork. So, screen went black. We got about 30 minutes left in the episode. Cooper wakes up. You called it. This is a different hotel room. Things are totally different. It is a standard def TV, so that is one sign we want to pay attention to if we want to know what year is this.
Right.
But Diane has left.
She's gone. I thought maybe she would be, in the bathroom or something like that, but no. There's a note and interesting names.
Yeah.
In the note.
Very interesting names next to a rotary phone. What year is this? So, Cooper, or should we call him Richard, reads the note. Can you believe this? Dear Richard.
Yeah.
You know what? You ever gotten a Dear Richard letter?
Too often.
Yeah. Cooper's like, Richard, this doesn't make any sense.
Usually
when you read this,
before a night like this,
I'll be
not
gone.
After.
Please don't try to find me. I don't recognize you anymore. Whatever it was we had together is over. Oh, heartbreak. Linda. Richard and Linda. Remember Richard and Linda. Right. We all thought it was Richard for Richard Horn, Linda for the woman in the trailer park who we heard mentioned once.
Who we didn't really know at all.
Is this a good payoff, in your opinion, 9 out of 10, Mork, to Richard and Linda?
To Richard and Linda? Well,
we were told to pay attention and remember them.
Right. I was thrilled to finally hear them, but when Coop steps outside, the parking lot is paved. There's a second floor. I mean, this is definitely not the same hotel. And he walks to a car that is much newer, much more modern, and also much more easily crashed into the side of the road if you're Mr. C. He was also driving around in this Lincoln very similar Lincoln Continental.
Do you know what year this Lincoln Continental would be? Cooper's looking at the back of the hotel. He realizes something's changed. He realizes that something's up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a current model. I mean, it's definitely not a current model. But I also don't. I think it's newer than 1989.
Oh yeah, no, it's much newer than 1989. Well, maybe not too much newer. But looking at other cars, trying to see if there's a hint
there are some other.
Guess. There are some other cars. They're older, but
still
you wouldn't
modern.
think they were
definitely
as
not
old as 1989. You wouldn't think so. No. So he pulls out, and did he wake up in Odessa? Were they always in Odessa when they did the 430 trick? But we're in Odessa, and when you saw the sign for Odessa, you just giggled, Mork. So why did you giggle? Why did you laugh?
Going back to the secret history, going back to part one, where we're in Twin Peaks, we're in South Dakota, we're in Las Vegas, we're in New York, we're in Argentina. Now we're in beautiful Odessa, Texas. So that was surprising, and the way that he's driving, the way that he's acting, it doesn't really feel like Coop. I mean, he's sort of dour. He doesn't seem to be in a particularly good mood. Yes, he was
so different that you even questioned, is this Mr. C now?
Well, the way
because he's so cold.
He's really cold, and he definitely starts to act like Mr. C when he takes out those three knuckleheads.
At Judy's. Eat at Judy's.
Right.
Is this the Jew Day? Is this a different dimension? How closely can we watch this to find answers if there are answers?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of things to think about. I mean, we sort of skimmed over it, but in terms of, Richard and Linda, if Coop is Richard, then previously Mr. C was Richard's father. So is this a different manufactured Coop that came out, again, a different version of Coop that came out of the Black Lodge like it did 25 years ago? It could be. I mean, the way that he sits down, the way that he asks, he is, somewhat interested in the coffee, but he's nowhere near as interested as he typically is, nor is he nearly as appreciative of the coffee. He normally takes a sip of coffee and then remarks, "Oh, this is a damn fine cup of coffee."
No, he's got a mission. He wants to find, quote unquote, Laura, we assume, because as soon as he sits down, he asks the waitress if there's another waitress who works there. Turns out it's her day off.
Do you, Bubba, have any thoughts on how he just assumes that Laura is a waitress at Judy's diner?
Well, Judy was like a sign. It was like,
But why
Cooper always worked on intuition. It was like, wait a minute. To be honest, I thought when he walked into Judy's, he'd say, do you have anybody here who delivers stuff to the Meals on Wheels?
Oh.
That would have been my thought.
That's a great call.
Cooper, maybe we should know he's not Mr. C because when he sees these three jerks harassing that waitress, he stands up for it. The Return has shown us nothing but jerks treating women terribly. Cooper, even if he's cold like Mr. C, he's not going to stand for this. Yeah, and the open carry law in Texas really comes through right now.
Right. Yeah, I felt that this guy overreacted a little bit, and I'm going to stand up here a little bit for Mr. C. I think that Mr. C would actually step in. If he didn't like something that was going on, not to say that he's a gentleman at all, but if he didn't like something going on, I don't think he would not tell these guys to quit hassling the young lady.
Well, here's one way we'll know if he's Mr. C or not. In your opinion, probably you have the best insight into Mr. C. He's your favorite character. Would Mr. C let fries burn? Would he leave them burning in the boiler?
No, I think
oil. He's like, let these fries burn.
Well, so Mr. C, I don't think would have let these guys off as easy as he did. However, Coop, I feel, would have immediately, called the police or told her, call the police or get an ambulance. This guy's he's a criminal. He's a jerk, but he's bleeding. It felt like there would be more things to do, and then he takes their guns, and this is a Mr. C move.
Yeah, this is a Mr. C move. He puts them in the deep fryer,
and then he tells them, "Hey, they might blow up, so watch out." Bubba, you were saying that. You were saying, "Boy, those bullets might explode." I have to ask.
Yeah, I said it before this version of Cooper did.
I have to ask, have you had any experience in putting firearms into a deep fryer?
No, I haven't, but this just seems like a real dumb move. So
enough.
Coop, whatever version of Cooper this is, really a big moron. He gets the waitress to write the address down. He gets the address.
And he's sort of talking tough to her. I mean, he sort of compels her. He doesn't ask her nicely. He doesn't, there's no sweet talking. He asks her, she sort of
right.
dawdles,
That's why
he tells her again, which also does not feel like Coop.
That's why when I said, we saw we saw Cooper last week, to me that felt like the only Cooper we've seen.
Yeah, that was
in this week's episode. He arrived so late with the Mitchum brothers that he can't be fun Coop. He can't be light Coop.
He was kind of fun in the truck, but you're totally right. I mean, 5 seconds.
Yeah, and so he goes, and what did you think when you saw this second waitress, Mork? What did you think?
First, I thought it was kind of funny because I didn't see when she first came around the corner, and it looked like Audrey for a second, and then you're like, nope. And then I guess, I'm sorry, at first I said it was Shelley, and then you said nope, and then I said Audrey, nope. And I got to be honest, I was even more glad to see Cheryl Lee than Audrey.
You say that
Yeah.
about Cheryl Lee.
Yeah.
But we didn't get Laura Palmer. We didn't get Dale Cooper for most of this. We got Dougie Jones. We don't get Laura Palmer. We get Carrie Page.
Right.
How do you feel about Carrie Page, who definitely has some drama of her own? All of this is about everybody's got drama.
Yeah, she's in what I like to call a pickle. We don't know it until Coop walks in, and again, this is also
Is this a different dimension? What in the world is going on?
It really has to be because it. Can you imagine Special Agent Dale Cooper ignoring a clearly murdered body in a?
Well, he shot somebody in the toe. Maybe this is just Texas Coop. Texas Coop.
Texas Coop.
Texas Coop.
Coming next year, TNT.
I'll take out all villains with guns. Welcome to Texas Coop Ranger.
He doesn't. Sorry. That was amazing, Bubba.
Hey, let me tell you, as strange as it sounds,
I
think you're a girl named Laura Palmer on this week's Texas Coop Ranger. Bump.
So he does nothing, but he tells her very plainly, very baldly, what he's trying to accomplish here. And
she's in trouble because of whatever was happening in this house, whatever's going on in Carrie Page's life.
Right.
And she's like, okay, you want to hit the road? Fine.
Yeah.
Did you take when Cooper said your father was Leland, your mother was Sarah, that that was it. That she agreed. Oh, you know my dad's name, because she never said no. My dad's name is
right.
Dad's name is Tom. She never said that.
Well, it definitely felt like she was searching to try to recognize these names somehow, and or she's trying to weigh her options here. But this is kind of a bizarre scene, but I just really enjoyed seeing them talk to each other in what could be, I'm not going to say the real world, but a real world. And we hadn't really seen that. We've seen them in the Red Room together, so it was nice to see them. The context is pretty bizarre, and she gets into a little bit of our French friend getting ready to leave, or the guy sweeping, where as she's packing, she comes back to Cooper. What do I pack? What should I bring? How's the weather? And yeah, it's a weird scene, but Texas Coop does nothing.
Texas Coop Ranger. Guy's brains blown out. I don't care.
You pointed out, I'm sorry, Bubba, but you pointed out the white horse.
Of course the white horse has to be here. It's like a dream. Things that you have in a dream would show up again. If you keep seeing the white horse, the pale horse, of course the pale horse is going to show up again. Should we be looking at how this guy blowing his brains out is maybe evocative of what happened to Stephen? We never found out whatever happened to Stephen's
That's a great call.
wife, Becky, but you know what? Resolution.
Seriously, that is a great call. I hadn't thought of that. I assumed that she shot him. I didn't just because of the way it looks like
the
he was
gun
shot
has
in
been
the forehead.
Right. Well, that would be one way to kill yourself, but the gun was put away or put to the side pleasantly. But they get out. They get going. And so I am just thinking, I am looking at the clock now.
Yeah.
I am watching the clock. We're 40 minutes in. That means there's 20 minutes left. And I'm just thinking to myself, you got to be kidding me. What about all these stories? Aren't you going to give me anything? Where is all this going?
Well,
then, oh my Lord, this drive took forever, as it would from Odessa to Twin Peaks, Washington.
Sure.
But get on with it is all I'm thinking. I was so frustrated. I'm looking at Twitter, and really, to be honest, for the last hour on Twitter, everybody's just saying, what in the hell's going on? What in the hell's going on? What the hell's going on? That's all. If you look at Twin Peaks on Twitter, that's all anybody was tweeting out. What the hell's going on? What the hell's going on? What the hell's going on? And this long drive happened, my frustration was just off the charts. It was like, you got to be kidding me. Go, 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 go.
Well, I wanted things to happen sooner, but for me, Coop and Laura, Coop saving Laura somehow or bringing her back or, I don't think there's anything bigger. So I was okay with that. Now, ultimately, I'd be a little let down. But as slightly.
Mork, you're the best. You really are. That is the right attitude to take to enjoy this. For me, it was like, wait, you're going to spend the last 10 minutes on this car ride? We're going to see them stop at Valero gas station? Who gives a rat's? Come on.
Well, maybe.
So there's that moment. Are we being followed? Or will we be followed? Apparently not. Nope. Okay.
No, they're not. But if you looked at the gas prices,
oh my Lord!
$2.53, $4.30.
Oh my Lord! Listeners who love the gas prices, right? Mork on Twitter. What's that Twitter handle again?
At Fit and Trim.
That's
FITTENTRIM.
Yeah, that guy who wrote "We're Never Too Silly." The person who wrote that review, attack Mork. Silly Mork. Attack him for this stupidness. 9 out of 10, defend this long drive because you think something cool is going to happen.
Yeah.
You're like, these two characters I love are going to happen.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And so you're telling me in this long drive, which I'm just looking at the counter right now. Okay, they drive through Twin Peaks. Ooh, it's fun. But this drive did take close to 10 minutes. This was a 10-minute drive. Oh, my God.
It was, look, we've spent a lot of time in the car, more than we'd want. But, again, these are the two characters.
They didn't even talk much in the car. We spent 10 minutes in the car, and they didn't even talk.
I know, but just seeing them together, it was something. And it did make me think, we're going somewhere. Unfortunately... we do go somewhere.
We do go somewhere. We go to the Palmer house. The infamous Palmer house. She doesn't recognize it. what in the world is going on here? Cooper is fascinated.
Time out.
Cooper knows the power of this.
He knows the power of this, and she doesn't recognize it yet.
Okay. All right. Sure, that's one way to read this. I should mention, for everybody who loves the history and the making of everything, this scene of Cooper and Laura with this car with Texas plates coming up to the Palmer house, people lived in this neighborhood, and Twin Peaks fans came and watched this scene being filmed, and this one person filmed it with their little camera, put so much out on Instagram the night that they were doing this. TMZ picked it up. TMZ released it as a spoiler story. The woman who put it on Instagram, I think she removed it because of hashtag Keep the Mystery Alive, but I've known Cooper was going to leave, I knew Kyle MacLachlan was going to lead Cheryl Lee up to this doorway since, I guess they shot this maybe in 14. When did they shoot that? I can't remember.
Wow.
14 or 15. So yeah, I knew this was going to happen.
I didn't know. So Bubba, hey, thank you for not.
Bubba hashtag keeps the mystery alive.
Thank you for keeping the. No, seriously.
And this ending hashtag keeps Bubba's frustration alive.
Well,
so they come up to the house. They knock on the door. Yeah. This was something that the person who posted all this on Instagram told us, is that the person who did this scene is the real woman who lived in the house.
She did a good job.
And so because we heard, the real woman who lived in the house did this scene, you think, that's no big deal.
This isn't going to be the last scene of the show.
It's not going to be important in any way.
Right.
I will tip my frustrated cap a little bit to the fact that the woman says, okay, I'm a Chalfont, the person who lived in this house before, a Tremont. So this is like dream logic. These names we know and are so powerful are coming in. What did you think?
The old lady's name, correct?
The grandmother and her grandson, right, from the original series and Fire Walk with Me.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think? Describe, since I was very frustrated, describe what you were thinking, how you took this scene and this doorway moment.
Well, I almost felt like it was cruel of Coop to be, doing this, because
bringing Laura there, you mean?
A place where she was,
in a different life, she was tortured.
She was tortured here for a number of years, and she lost her mind and ultimately her life. So I thought that was a little maybe brusque of Coop. I'm not really used to seeing that from him, but
he was told to find Laura. I don't think anybody ever told him find Laura and bring her home, quote unquote home.
Right. Well, that the fact that it was Leland telling her, and Leland sort of without any of Bob's possession or influence, that those two reuniting would be so powerful and so wonderful. If it was going to be maybe back in again in the Red Room, which is part of the Black Lodge, which is not the greatest place to be. So they're having this conversation.
Well, what are you feeling? Come on, what are you feeling? Are you like you thought it was cruel? Anything else? Like any other thoughts you had while this was going on?
I thought a couple of things. Either and I don't know the woman's name, but the homeowner, we'll call her. I thought she was going to pull a Sarah Palmer at the bar. I thought she was going to open up her face. And it was
that would have been cool.
And it was going to be something.
Alice Tremond is what she says her name is.
Right.
Here
the last time, we were at, this door, it was Hawk and Sarah Palmer.
And what was happening in the kitchen?
Well, we don't know.
That
but
noise.
It was an ominous noise. It sounded like it was a scuffle. It sounded like someone got hit or pushed or something like that. And but no, nothing happens. And so this is.
You can't go home again.
No, you can't. And
this is the anti-Wizard of Oz. You woke up, and you're like, you were there. I don't remember. No, I don't think it was me. You must be thinking about somebody else.
That's actually a really neat call. Well, one thing about this scene that I think was a little bit diminished was there are a lot of scenes in these last two parts where we feel like something is going to happen, even with Mr. C. And something did happen, but it happened so quickly and without much struggle, where there was so much tension that I think could have been here but wasn't, because all we've seen. But Bubba, as we're walking out, as we're hanging out on the street, something does in fact happen.
Well, Cooper turns around. It's almost like he's possessed, but poor Carrie Page, she's not possessed. I don't see any recognition on her face. They're staring up at the Palmer house. It's got to mean something. Is this a dream world? Is this a doppelganger world? What do you think of the very last moment?
Well, I mean, I thought it was really scary and intense, and nobody. I mean, Sheryl Lee can scream.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
the greatest screamer ever.
When she was taken away by the owl, I was thinking, oh, she still got it. You know, I mean, that scream she gave her when she was taken away when they were in the woods. But there's a look of realization that is...
Well, the look of realization comes after Cooper says, "What year is this?"
Right.
What do you think that means? What do you think this... Why is that the thing that wakes her up, that blinks her up? What's going on with Cooper? You know, he's kind of
I mean,
not
look,
in a good space where he says that.
A minute ago, we were talking hashtag keep the mystery alive. They did that. They kept the mystery alive. I don't know what the significance of that question is, and I don't know why it would trigger, Laura or Carrie. I'm sorry. And if this is a different dimension, then how would it have any effect on her? So I don't know.
Well, how about this? It's that you said she didn't remember at the time. When he asks her what year it is, suddenly her brain frizzes out. Maybe she's a tulpa. She hears softly, according to the closed caption, she hears somebody calling Laura. And so that floods her back with all the memories. She freaks out. She screams, "Oh my God, I'm remembering everything." The house lights go black. Everything goes black. Did we just wake up again? But we didn't wake up again. We're black in the Black Lodge as she's whispering something to Cooper.
Yeah.
So many things didn't pay off. So many things.
Well, Audrey did.
Right. Great point.
Yeah.
Audrey did. Good old Red. I loved how Red and Sparkle really paid off. Remember how we were wondering, is the Roadhouse real or is it fake? You know what? I don't have any questions anymore.
Nope. Keeping the mystery alive. No, they...
Frustrated. Come on. For everybody who enjoyed this, if you love this mystery, this enigma, this dream puzzle, let me say, I'm glad you loved it. I don't want to take away anybody's enjoyment.
You don't seem to be glad that I loved it.
Well, if you could describe how you loved it, that's all I keep begging you. Begging you to describe.
I've been telling you all night in short declarative sentences.
Not once.
what I love. But do you think it is possible for them to not do more episodes? To not do another Firewalk with Me? To not do another film based on this? I mean,
yes, I totally think it's possible. I have to be honest. We'll get into this in our feedback/overall discussion in 2 weeks. But I didn't think they were going to give us all the answers. They love the fact.
No, impossible.
I think it was possible, but I think they love the fact that we had these mysteries and we could debate things all these years. I think that's what they think we love about it, is that we can debate mysteries and stuff. That's not why. I don't love Twin Peaks. I didn't love Twin Peaks because I could discuss it and there were theories and there were things that didn't make that it was a mystery puzzle. I loved the characters.
Sure.
I loved the stories. And so part of this journey, do you love the journey or do you love the destination? There were parts of this journey that I think were really good. Parts of the journey, obviously, I was tough on. The destination, oh boy, I'm not a fan of it at all. And I think this, if The Return hasn't already turned a bunch of Twin Peaks fans off Twin Peaks entirely, I think this ending is going to give another one. I think there are people who attack the Lost ending. If you watch that show Lost, and it was frustrating and wonderful in its wonderful journey, but the ending I know left a lot of people sour. I want to know. That's why we're having a feedback podcast. We want to know.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
hope, once again, I always hope I'm the only one who is frustrated and didn't enjoy it. I'm worried, though. I'm worried that people want me to unleash frustrated Bubba on the world. And if you want to,
Wait,
hey, I'll support you.
Haven't you been doing that?
No, there's frustrated Bubba with Mork on the world. Like, Mork, Mork, you just said we were stuck with this. Why don't you describe why you said the word stuck? Well, I won't. Da-da-da-da. Well, half a point off. There. I've described why I said
I was
word
just keeping
stuck.
track of how I ended up deducting only 1 point.
All right, so once again, 9 out of 10. I'm being tough on you, Mork, and I'm rough on you.
But okay,
I described the part I like the most. I love the changing of time. I love the revisiting these things through a new angle. I love the trippiness of that one moment at the end of part 17.
Did this ending, even though it did not provide answers or resolution, but just the emotional punch of watching, Coop, who we thought was all the way back, all of a sudden seemed to be a little bit confused, and Laura, screaming like she only, screamed when Bob was around or something horrible was going to happen, and the screen cut into black, and we're back in the Black Lodge. You didn't have any sort of just a purely visceral, emotional reaction to that?
It was a great scream, great lights flashing, but I had a moment like, oh, what's about to happen? And as soon as it cut to black, I was like, okay, nothing's going to happen. And so for half a second, I was like, oh, yeah, nothing's going to happen. That's how it ends. And then my frustration just exploded. So do you want me to grade this on that one moment? Like on that one moment of, oh, wow, the lights just went off in the Palmer house.
I think that one of the things that traditionally has always been just amazing about this show has been things that shouldn't be scary or things that shouldn't really be compelling that are. We're talking about the record. We're talking about the ceiling fan. We're talking about...
Yeah, but I would say, we're going to have to save this. I would say the music made stuff compelling, the theme, the cinematography, I think, to be honest, shooting on this on rather flat video hurts it as far as the beauty of the picture it painted and the mood it set. For me, once again, I hope I'm the only one, but that's what I would say.
I feel...
Would you say that there was anything in this series that gave you the ominous feeling that the ceiling fan did in the original?
Well, when they showed the ceiling fan in this series...
Oh, boy. Okay,
no, let's time out. Sarah Palmer, most of the times that we saw her, I didn't know...
That's true, but you just used a specific example of an inanimate object. You're like, things that we shouldn't think were scary and ominous were something scary and ominous.
Oh, well, this house. That's why I brought it up. Seeing this house, Laura's scream certainly punctuated it, but just that realization, and then, oh my God, they're looking at this house, which is, so many horrible things happen there for so long, and the fact that in one apparently different dimension, Sarah is still, or something like Sarah, is still reliving that, is still going through it. That is powerful, and that is frightening to me. But no, look, there are so many differences between the return, and we'll keep talking about it. Because there's a lot to talk about, and the original. And for me, I think the biggest thing that it missed was really just getting to know so many interesting characters who fit together so well, and we didn't have that this time. And I really enjoyed Mr. C.
Listen, we cutting you off mainly because this feels like we could talk for another hour. We're at 2.5 hours. Let's go through these final wonderful people who've been so kind to give us iTunes reviews.
Let's do that.
From the wonderful UK, we got 100% 5 stars from Linear North. By far the best Twin Peaks podcast out there, way more than just an episode recap.
Oh my God.
So good, in fact, that I've recently started watching Game of Thrones just so I can keep up with these guys on their other shows. Well, hey, we're doing The Strain right now. Go to The Strain, Got Your Milk podcast, hashtag The Strain, find it. Mork and I, extra silly. We love it.
This is from Kate's 28, unmissable podcast for Twin Peaks fan. 5 stars.
Thank you.
God. What can I say? My ritual of watching Twin Peaks just simply isn't complete until I've listened to the insightful ramblings of Bubba and Mork. Insightful is Bubba's territory. Ramblings are Mork's. Anyway, really going to miss this treat each week, and I mean in this most affectionate and positive way.
So much.
But this show is also a great sleep aid.
That's totally true.
There's someone behind you. I'm kidding, of course. I'll be re-listening to each show in the coming weeks and drifting off, after a good hour at least, probably dreaming that I'm in the Black Lodge. That's terrifying. Top work, guys. Andy from Leighton Buzzard, UK.
Thank you so much. Hey, let's hear this great one from Vulture Squadron. 5 stars, a great companion to the show. I started listening to this in the run-up to Season 3 as I was rewatching the original and Firewalk with Me. As someone who became a Twin Peaks fan a bit later, the episodes about the original series made me feel like I'd been a part of the fan club, since the start. Man, Vulture Squadron, we're trying. It's full of insights into the show's production and mythology, addressing all the key mysteries of Twin Peaks. The presenters are great. They come at each episode with different opinions, but able to fuse these into a smart and amusing debate. They're not afraid to criticize things they don't like, but they don't ruin my appreciation of the show. Boy, we do not want to. Even when I disagree, it's been a pleasure having to listen to them after each episode of the return. The series has provoked a lot of questions. If you don't have many people to discuss the questions with, it's not a problem. You've got presenters Bubba and Mork turning everything over in such detail and with quick wit. If you're rewatching Twin Peaks, give them a listen. Thanks, guys. Oh, thank you, Vulture Squadron.
Oh, man. Okay. One last one from the UK. It's the Calexico Kid, who is just like Coop in Odessa, is in the UK. Cherry Pie Heaven, 5 stars.
This is the Calexico Kid. Ranger, I'm out here shooting guns in Texas and deep frying them for Texas justice.
Okay, but the Calexico Kid is in the UK.
My
As a fan of Twin
so
Peaks since the original series debuted, I have found the return to be something of a curate's egg. I'm sorry, Calexico Kid. You're smarter than I am. Good in parts, but also a somewhat frustrating watch. Fortunately, Bubba and Mork's The Gifted
and the Damned
has provided the balanced analysis of the series, which was sorely lacking on the other Twin Peaks I initially tried.
Oh.
Intelligent discussion and witty banter are both in abundance, and I especially enjoy Bubba's attempts to rein in Double C.
Double C?
Cheeky Chappy Mork's perceived ramblings. If you are a fan of short declarative sentences, this is the podcast for you.
Oh, man.
Calexico Kid, you're the greatest.
The greatest.
That's amazing.
You guys have given us so many wonderful reviews. Hey, if you haven't yet, you can still give a review, like the Facebook page. You'll be eligible to win the last prize we're going to give away in 2 weeks. We need you guys to really give us feedback, because we're going to have our own thoughts, but our thoughts are no more important than your thoughts. Go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/P podcast. That's the word double, the single letter P, the word podcast, plural, facebook.com/P podcast. Can't wait to hear from you.
Also, I'm sorry, just real quick, we need it because this is an instant take show.
Oh, yeah.
So
we miss stuff all the time.
We miss stuff. I've gotten at least 3 or 4 things wrong tonight, so please do help us think about this, and we'll be talking again very, very soon.
For all you double L's, my name's Bubba. You can hit me up on Twitter at Fit and Trim. That's FITTENTRIM at Fit and Trim on Twitter.
Mork is at Extraordinary. That's extraordinary with the W in front of the final R.
And you'll see us in 2 weeks.